Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the What If guy, back with another fanfiction. This is the first part of What If Issei becomes Black Dragon Lord. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. Throughout history, people have been driven by their emotions and desires, often creating enemies in the process. Sometimes, there is no worse enemy than the one we create ourselves, as vengeance can be relentless. When a dragon is betrayed, it will not rest until the traitors are punished. And if that dragon is the first dragon lord, the known world could turn to ashes. It had been some time since the battle with the apocalyptic beast Trihexa, and the factions had entered a PRD of peace. However, in a grand mansion, Issei was not having his best moment. After defeating Trihexa and Rizbin Livon Lucifer, his relationship with his companions had deteriorated. The girls spent little time with him, and the factions had not given him the recognition he deserved. Issei had left school and turned to drinking to ease his sorrow. The worst part was that he lacked the comfort of his parents, who had been killed by Rizbin, and his closest friends had distanced themselves. Additionally, Drek, his dragon companion, had not offered him support, leaving him feeling utterly alone. This affected both his emotional and physical state, as he had neglected his appearance. Months later, Issei was notified of an important meeting between two of the three factions, and they needed his presence. Although he initially felt insulted to be called after such a long time, the thought of finally being recognized and having the chance to marry Rias filled him with happiness. He prepared himself properly for the meeting, taking care of his appearance and diet. Days before the meeting, Issei decided to talk to the girls from the occult club. Upon arriving, he was confronted with a scene that left him shocked. Rias was with another young man, while the other girls looked on. Issei felt his heart break and, filled with rage, confronted Rias. However, she greeted him with cold words, which hurt him deeply. At that moment, the leaders of the demonic factions and the fallen angels appeared. Issei hoped for their support, but instead found disdain. They told him that he was no longer useful to them and that his disappearance would aid their plans for an alliance. Betrayed by those he considered friends, Issei attempted to activate his power, but nothing happened. Drek, his dragon companion, had also abandoned him, having made a deal with Rias to find a new worthy host. Desperate and filled with hatred, Issei warned the leaders that if he ever managed to free himself, he would make them pay. However, he was quickly immobilized and left unconscious. Those present proceeded to extract Rias's pieces from his body, but unable to rid themselves of him completely, Azazel offered to take care of him. Unbeknownst to them, their actions would unleash chaos far greater than what Trihexa could have caused. Issei felt weak, whether from the extraction of his pieces, the betrayal of the dragon he thought was his friend, or the chill of the place he found himself in. Looking around, he realized he was in the 9th circle of a frozen realm. With a determined smile, he shouted to the winds, declaring that nothing could stop him now. With renewed resolve, Issei began to break free from the ice that had accumulated around his legs. Once free, he started to walk through the desolate landscape, pondering about Yasaka and Gabriel, wondering if they knew about the betrayal and if they would wait for him. As he walked, his anger grew, and with all his strength, he struck the ground. Despite no longer being part demon or dragon, he still retained the essence of a dragon. Unbeknownst to him, he had stumbled upon a source of great power. The force of his strike created a massive crack, revealing the well-preserved remains of a large black dragon. Without hesitation, he began to uncover it from the snow. Once most of the dragon's body was exposed, he used his dragon arm to cut parts of it and consume them. Instantly, he felt a surge of power, his body healing and strengthening, his hair turning white, and his stature increasing. Meanwhile, on Earth, the demon faction announced Issei's death, claiming it was his last wish for all factions to sign a peace treaty. This news was intended to unite everyone against the remnants of Rizbin's soldiers. However, a small dragon had witnessed the events, including the betrayal, and set out to inform the allied factions to prevent the demons or fallen angels from taking control. On another planet known as Second Earth, the god Raiden was frustrated as most of his champions had fallen against an alliance of formidable foes. Only Lu Kang remained, and Raiden feared for the future. Seeking guidance, Raiden transported himself to the sanctuary of the ancient gods, pleading for their help. The gods informed him that they could not intervene directly but suggested a potential ally, a warrior who walked a fine line between good and evil, betrayed by his former allies and now gaining strength in a frozen land. Back in the icy realm, Issei had finished consuming the black dragon and continued his search for an exit, leaving a trail of chaos in his wake. He encountered the remains of several malevolent dragons and decided to absorb their power as well. Just as he finished, a lightning bolt struck, and Issei found himself facing a crater with a person inside. "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Issei demanded, ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. Issei and Raiden stood a few steps apart, having met hours earlier. Issei asked Raiden again about his identity and purpose. Raiden introduced himself as Lord Raiden, the god of thunder and protector of earth, seeking Issei's help with a problem in his land. Issei expressed his distrust of gods, stating he had no reason or gain to assist. Raiden offered to help Issei seek justice with his champions. Meanwhile, at Kur Academy, a meeting was being organized in the occult club room to decide the leader of the alliance against Rizban soldiers. Unknown to them, the angels were aware of the betrayal against Issei and had taken measures to prevent demons or fallen angels from leading. Azazel suggested starting the meeting, but Gabriel proposed waiting for Yasaka, Thor, and Hercules to cast their votes. Seraphal questioned why Thor and Hercules were present instead of Odin and Zeus. Gabriel explained that both considered Issei a brother and were his mentors in warrior arts. Serzex agreed to wait. Eventually, leaders and representatives from the yokai, Greek, and Norse factions arrived. Azazel suggested starting the meeting, wanting to continue his sacred gear research. Serzex mentioned needing to return to his family. Yasaka expressed her longing to return to her daughter, who was saddened by Issei's death. Ajuka proposed Serzex as the leader due to his close relationship with Issei and his combat experience. Michael suggested Hercules for his battle experience. However, Hercules declined leadership, supporting Michael instead. Thor agreed, and Yasaka followed suit. Seraphal preferred Serzex for his power, but Hercules insisted Serzex should focus on combat. Michael was chosen as the leader, accepting the role with willingness. As the meeting concluded, Azazel, Serzex, Seraphal, and Ajuka remained in silence until Serzex expressed his frustration. Azazel cautioned him to calm down to avoid harming his sister and her entourage with his energy outburst. In the icy realm of Cocytus, Raiden asked Issei if he would help. Issei agreed on the condition that he would decide on the assistance of Raiden's champions later. Mentioned needing to leave a misleading trail for his enemies. Issei then removed a part of his clothing and left behind a piece of his arm. Raiden offered to restore Issei's arm, but Issei declined, mentioning he knew someone who could help. Raiden agreed to take Issei wherever he needed to go. Back at Kur Academy, Rias questioned Azazel about Issei's body. Azazel mentioned taking it to Cocytus, and Rias expressed concern due to a bad feeling she and Aquino had. Azazel agreed to take them there. Upon arrival, they couldn't find Issei's body, which worried them. Seraphal speculated that Issei might have survived and attempted to escape. They found remnants of clothing and part of an arm, which relieved Aquino. Azazel reassured them that Issei couldn't have escaped Tartarus, but then received a message about the destruction of the dragon's sacred gear. Earlier, Issei and Raiden had arrived at Azazel's hideout. Raiden inquired about the place, curious about their next steps. Issei had arrived at the hideout of an individual with raven wings. Although he initially thought this person was a friend, he realized he had merely been used as a source of knowledge and betrayed. Now, he was determined to take what interested him from that place. He observed some bracelets that, as he recalled, increased power, and a pair of swords, Shiryu and Zoltguin, each surrounded by impressive legends. While exploring, Issei noticed a coat and a black mask on a pedestal, along with an arm wrapped in chains. He decided that all of this would be useful to him. Before leaving, he instructed Raiden to cover his ears. He drew one of the swords from his waist and uttered the words, Zoltguin Infernal Lament. Instantly, 5 warriors appeared and began to destroy the laboratory. With his mission accomplished, Issei departed with a new ally and a combat team that promised to change the balance of power in the underworld. Azazel was filled with fear and concern upon hearing the news. All his work and ambitions to control the dragons and gain Yasaka's attention seemed to have been in vain. The fallen angel reported, "We don't know how it happened." Suddenly, the warehouse was destroyed. When we managed to extinguish the flames and took inventory, we realized that the Shiryu and Zoltguin swords, the lion's iron fist, the crow's feathered cloak, the god's bracelets, and the fox mask were missing from the lab's remains. Meanwhile, in a location within the kingdom of Oddwer, the champions of Earth were resting and planning how Liu Kang would face Ermac, Goro, and Shang Tsung. Sonya expressed concern, "We've all been defeated, and Liu Kang can't face that group alone." Kung Lao suggested, if those who were defeated could join, it would be easier. Johnny Cage reassured them, "I wouldn't worry too much. The lightning guy said he'd seek help from some gods to give us a chance." As he finished speaking, a lightning bolt revealed Raiden and a young man adjusting a long black coat. Some noticed his gaze was as cold as ice. Raiden announced, "Exactly, Johnny. The ancient gods guided me to a new warrior who will help Liu Kang." However, one of the champions sensed the aura and power emanating from Issei. Nightwolf warned, "Raiden, perhaps you haven't noticed, but the Great Spirit feels uneasy with his presence. He exudes pure malice." Before Raiden could explain Issei's ominous presence, Issei introduced himself. "My name is Ryukatsui, shaman. Rest assured, I won't attack as long as I'm not provoked. Tell your Great Spirit that my power comes from consuming demons in my world." Before the discussion could escalate, a appealing woman named Li Mei approached to prevent further conflict. She wore a striking purple two-piece outfit that left her midriff exposed, and she was against Shang Tsung. Li Mei intervened, "Enough. We're here for the same reason. We don't want that sorcerer and his emperor to conquer Earth. It doesn't matter if his power is intimidating." Ryukatsui agreed, "I concur. If it's not a problem, I want to start fighting. Who or where should I go?" Raiden offered, "I'll take you, but perhaps you should change your clothes first." Turning to see himself, Ryukatsui realized he was only wearing breaths and one shoe, which explained the laughter from some present while others blushed at his scarred chest. Before anyone could offer him something, shadows swirled around Ryukatsui, transforming him into an even more imposing figure. His hair changed from white to dark blue, reaching his lower back, and he wore a dark martial artist's outfit. Once ready, Ryukatsui approached Raiden, joined by Li Mei, and they disappeared in a flash of lightning. Nightwolf remained skeptical. "I still don't trust Ryukatsui. The enemy of my enemy isn't necessarily my friend. Besides, the malice he exudes is akin to that of a demon and a dragon." Sonya replied, "Let it be. If Raiden trusts him for now, that's enough for me. We don't have many options." Johnny Cage added, "Something tells me this guy could be more dangerous than that old man, but if those problems aren't ours, I'm fine with it." As the Earth champions continued their discussion, in Shang Tsung's castle, the warriors of Oddworld gathered. Shang Tsung declared, "Now that we've defeated most of Earth's champions, with only Shaolin Liu Kang remaining, the Emperor is closer to his glorious conquest." Scarlet eagerly added, "The sooner we achieve victory for Shao Kahn, the sooner I'll have the BLD of that Shaolin." As Scarlet finished her statement, a lightning bolt revealed 3 figures in the combat hall. Among them were Raiden and Li Mei, but the third figure set off alarms among the warriors present, as his mere presence signaled a greater threat than Shinnok. Upon arriving at Shang Tsung's castle and witnessing the multitude of fighters and warriors, the new champion of Earth felt an overwhelming urge to fight. This sensation was noticed by Baraka and Scarlet, each perceiving it in their own unique way. Shang Tsung addressed the group, "A new champion, God of Thunder. It doesn't matter, like the others, he will fall, and your beloved realm will eventually be absorbed by the outworld." Baraka stepped forward into the center of the hall, while the other warriors of Oddworld took their positions. Raiden and Li Mei stood on the opposite side. Ryukatsui handed his fox mask to Li Mei and approached the center, assuming a combat stance resembling tiger claws. Baraka taunted, but before he could continue, Ryukatsui charged forward, delivering a powerful punch to Baraka's stomach. Following up with a kick to the jaw, Baraka was lifted into the air. Ryukatsui leapt and struck Baraka's stomach with both arms, sending him crashing to the ground, and finished with a decisive blow, leaving Baraka defeated and the onlookers astonished by the swift victory. Shang Tsung, impressed, announced the next challenger, Reptile. A reptilian figure appeared from the rafters, landing on the ground below. Ryukatsui acknowledged Reptile's intimidating appearance but remained unfazed. As the match began, Reptile spat acid, which Ryukatsui blocked with his metallic arm, surprising everyone as the acid had no effect. Ryukatsui skillfully dodged further attacks and charged toward the camouflaged Reptile, listening for his movements. He swept Reptile's legs, sending him tumbling to Shang Tsung's feet. Reptile retaliated but was met with a series of precise strikes from Ryukatsui, ultimately leaving him unconscious. Shang Tsung praised Ryukatsui's display and commanded him to finish Reptile, but Ryukatsui refused, asserting his independence. With the match concluded, the participants dispersed. Raiden and Li Mei approached Ryukatsui, who retrieved his mask from Li Mei and attached it to his belt. Raiden summoned a lightning bolt to transport them to the other champions, where they found Liu Kang practicing martial arts with Kung Lao. Sonya inquired about their progress, and Raiden noted the improvement but expressed concern over Ryukatsui's aggressive nature. As they spoke, a tremor and a powerful aura filled the air, prompting the Earth champions to investigate. They arrived at a cliff where Li Mei stood, staring in terror at a swirling dark energy. Above it, the silhouette of a massive dragon grinned ominously. Raiden realized this was the warning the ancient gods had given him. Meanwhile, at Shang Tsung's palace, the warriors felt a chill as they sensed the intimidating energy. Jade identified the source as Raiden's new warrior, recognizing the threat he posed. Shang Tsung instructed Scarlet to deal with him, eager to harness his power. Back with the Earth champions, they watched as the energy gradually diminished, leaving behind a black sphere with small scales. The sphere opened like a flower, revealing Ryukatsui with 6 pairs of dark wings, their tattered membranes casting an eerie presence. The silence was broken by a single question, "What are you?" End of chapter. Chapter and "What are you?" was the question everyone asked as they watched Ryukatsui. His wings were retracting into his back, and mysterious markings resembling seals ran across his back, abdomen, and arms. Jax was bewildered. What was that? It's like all the world's darkness concentrated in you. And what are those marks on your body? Ryukatsui explained, that was me sealing my powers. The battles with that iguana and the big-toothed one gave me more trouble than I expected, partly due to the energy within me. Li Mei noted, you say it was difficult to fight them, but you defeated them quickly. Before anyone could say more, a small Japanese-themed palace appeared out of nowhere, and Ryukatsui entered, leaving them with more questions than answers. Johnny Cage commented, "What a strange guy, and you say that's your type, Sonya?" A playful punch was heard, leaving a few present with small smiles. As the sun set, all the champions and warriors of Udworld gathered in an arena, ready to witness the next battle. Shang Tsung announced, Ryukatsui, you will face Sub-Zero, from the Lin-Kei clan of assassins. Suddenly, ice stakes formed, revealing the Lin-Kei assassin. Sub-Zero declared, you will feel the cold embrace of defeat. As the battle began, a bolt of ice shot toward Ryukatsui, who barely dodged it, resulting in his right arm being frozen up to the shoulder. Ryukatsui retorted, if that's the coldest you can muster, this will be easy. I spent 7 years in a land of ice that would make your power seem like a summer breeze. Soon, scales and claws began to cover his metal arm, which he aimed at his opponent, releasing a purple flame that struck Sub-Zero's chest. After the initial surprise at the technique, the battle resumed, with Ryukatsui charging and striking Sub-Zero's chest with both fists, sending him flying and crashing to the ground multiple times. Sub-Zero tried to defend himself, but a series of well-placed strikes left him breathless. Ryukatsui stood over his opponent, a smile on his face, and delivered a final palm strike to Sub-Zero's chest, leaving him out of the fight. "It seems death doesn't need me yet, assassin," Ryukatsui remarked. Time skip. Hours had passed since Ryukatsui's battle, and night had fallen. Now, it was Liu Kang's turn to fight. He arrived at the combat area, skirted by Raiden and Kung Lao. Jax, Sonya, Johnny Cage, Li Mei, and Ryukatsui were already there. Ryukatsui exuded a subtle aura, indicating his longing to continue fighting. Little did he know, his hunger for battle had grown after his previous encounters. Lin gently took his hand, calming him as he realized who it was. Shang Tsung announced, "Combatants. The Shaolin Liu Kang, one of the few warriors to reach the tournament's final stages, will face the burden of Earth's destiny. Your opponents will be Scorpion and the sorcerer Quan Chi." As the battle commenced, Liu Kang charged at Scorpion, delivering a punch to the face followed by an elbow and a kick, which were blocked by his opponent. Liu Kang then jumped and landed a kick on Scorpion's chest. Back on the ground, he unleashed a series of punches with his left arm, but Scorpion retaliated with a kick to the stomach, pushing Liu Kang back. Quan Chi struck Liu Kang from behind, leaving him momentarily stunned. Liu Kang countered with a series of flying kicks, pushing Quan Chi away and giving him time to block an incoming punch, though he couldn't avoid a knee to the stomach. Quan Chi was knocked back by a powerful punch and a kick, but as he tried to rise, a second kick to the face left him out of the fight. As Liu Kang prepared to continue, a blow struck his stomach and another hit his temple, sending him to the ground. Scorpion pinned him down with a strike to the ribs. Shang Tsung's voice rang out, "Finish him." Scorpion approached with a sword drawn, ready to strike. As he raised it above his head, it was stopped by another sword, catching everyone's attention. Ryukatsui had intervened, wielding a gladius. "Scorpion!" Ryukatsui called out. Scorpion, sensing the dark presence from his sword, decided to lower it, allowing Jax and Kung Lao to help Liu Kang. Shang Tsung observed with a sinister satisfaction, remarking on the impending fate of Earth being absorbed by the outer world, fulfilling his emperor's desires. Meanwhile, Raiden and the others arrived at a house built by Ryukatsui. Inside, they noticed several paintings and photographs, all marked with red, the most striking being of a girl with appealing blue eyes and long red hair. Liu Kang was gently placed on a mattress on the floor as Ryukatsui used green energy to heal his injuries. Ryukatsui diagnosed Liu Kang with broken bones, bruises, and internal injuries, noting his fortune in surviving. He mentioned that Liu Kang would remain unconscious for a day or two. Johnny Cage, inspired by the recent events, joked about the potential success of his next movie, leaving everyone to wonder if he was serious. In another room, Ryukatsui was taking a moment to relax when Scarlet attempted to attack him. He swiftly disarmed her using pressure points, rendering her unconscious. Chains enveloped her, and she was taken away as Ryukatsui returned to his meditation. Later, as Ryukatsui prepared breakfast for himself and Lehman, she commented on the impressive nature of dragons. Ryukatsui hinted at future adventures together. Downstairs, the champions overheard their conversation, leading to a humorous exchange between Sonya and Johnny Cage. The chapter concluded with a sense of anticipation for what was to come next. Chapter and the morning light had broken a few hours ago, and Li Mei was resting, feeling grateful for her partner, who was not only a formidable warrior but also someone she deeply admired. After some time, she lay back, satisfied, while her partner got up to let her rest. Meanwhile, in another room, Liu Kang and the Earth champions were discussing how to assist Ryukatsui, who was about to face formidable opponents: the Soul Demon Ermac, the sorcerer Quan Chi, his specter, Scorpion, and the Shokin Prince Goro. The champions were concerned about the possibility of betrayal, knowing Ryukatsui's loyalty was uncertain. Kung Lao expressed his distrust, questioning whether Ryukatsui could be swayed by Shang Tsung's offers. Johnny Cage agreed, adding his personal dislike for Ryukatsui. Jax teased Johnny, suggesting his dislike stemmed from jealousy over Ryukatsui's success with women. The conversation continued with laughter, but Raiden remained silent, prompting Kung Lao to ask for his opinion. Raiden acknowledged the risks but reminded them that the ancient gods had chosen Ryukatsui for a reason, and they had little choice but to hope he would make the right decision. Time skip hours later, the champions gathered in Shang Tsung's palace to witness the battle that could bring new hope to Earth. Ryukatsui entered, wearing combat breaths and a red belt, with a black coat draped over his shoulders. Li Mei held his arm as they approached their opponent, Ermac. Before the fight began, Ryukatsui addressed Shang Tsung, surprising the Earth warriors who feared betrayal. Instead, Ryukatsui revealed a dagger, a symbol recognized by the warriors of Udworld, and threw it, grazing Shang Tsung's cheek and embedding it in the sorcerer's throne. This act reassured the warriors of his intentions. As the fight commenced, Ryukatsui engaged Ermac with skill and strategy. Despite Ermac's powerful energy attacks, Ryukatsui countered with his own techniques, gradually gaining the upper hand. The battle was intense, with Ryukatsui using his agility and strength to outmaneuver Ermac. Eventually, Ryukatsui delivered a series of decisive blows, leaving Ermac defeated. After the victory, Ryukatsui approached Li Mei, embracing her warmly. He then addressed Shang Tsung, warning him that his soul was a coveted prize for Ryukatsui's power, Zolkuin. As the Earth champions began to leave, one of the women noticed a dragon-like mark on Li Mei's lower back, sparking an idea as she observed Li Mei being affectionately held by Ryukatsui. End of chapter. Several hours had passed since the intense battle between Ryukatsui and Ermac. The fierce display by the Earth warrior had raised concerns among the onlookers, especially after his bold warning to Shang Tsung. Shang Tsung was visibly unsettled. "Who does that insolent human think he is to threaten me?" he muttered. Jade, observing his agitation, remarked, "You're so frightened of that champion that you've overlooked his weakness." Kitana, intrigued, asked, "What do you know, Jade, that we don't?" Jade explained, "The woman accompanying him had a mark on her back, and the way he treats her shows she is important to him. If you authorize it, I can lead a group to confront him." Shang Tsung and several warriors smiled at the prospect of defeating the Earth warrior. However, Shiva, a female warrior, looked uneasy. She and others had heard Ermac's words, which left them worried. Meanwhile, in a secluded part of the combat palace, Raiden appeared with the Earth champions. As they arrived, Ryukatsui began to walk away with his partner but was stopped by Raiden. "Ryukatsui, you need to clarify many things. Even though the ancient gods have chosen you, it doesn't mean we trust you," Raiden stated. Ryukatsui replied, "That's your concern, God of Thunder. I have no obligation to answer you. As far as I'm concerned, you need me to prevent your world from being absorbed by this one, not the other way around. So, if you want my help, avoid provoking me." With that, Ryukatsui entered the house he had built with Li Mei. Johnny Cage commented sarcastically, "What a pleasant guy. Raiden, couldn't you find someone worse?" Kung Lao noted, "His combat brutality suggests he knows not only fighting but also war." Sonya added, "Perhaps chaos or loss created such a ruthless warrior." Nightwolf suggested, "Regardless, Lord Raiden should consult the ancient gods. Meanwhile, the tournament will continue and we will observe." Raiden agreed, "All right, but be cautious. Although he is our best option against the outer world, it's best not to be on his bad side." Raiden then transported himself away with a flash of lightning. Inside the house, Ryukatsui was with two women, one being Li Mei and the other a redhead. He recalled how the BLD mage had become his new ally. In a flashback, Ryukatsui sat in a tub of water, holding a dagger inches from his eye. The female figure before him seemed to view him as a deity. Scarlet remarked, "Your BLD is unlike any I've known, so alluring." Before she could attack again, chains wrapped around her, immobilizing her. Ryukatsui stood, made a small cut on his finger, and offered a drop of his BLD to her. Scarlet, captivated by his power, decided to remain loyal to him. Elsewhere, in a place accessible only to gods, Raiden stood before several spectral figures. Raiden asked, "Gods, what kind of man have you led me to? He shows no respect or mercy to my champions or enemies." The ancient gods replied, "We told you he walks a line between good and evil. To answer your question, he is not human, he is a dragon. Neither you nor your champions have earned his respect. He was betrayed by those he loved, making him even more hostile. If you wish to understand him, visit his home, the underworld. It is not like Shinnok's realm, so you will have no trouble. We will grant you knowledge of those close to him. With that, Raiden transported himself to the underworld to learn more about the warrior in whom he placed his last hopes. After a while, he arrived and was surprised to see that the place resembled Earth, albeit with different advancements. What caught his attention most were two women, one with black hair and the other a redhead, whom he recognized from the paintings in Ryukatsei's house and the knowledge the ancient gods had given him. He observed how one of them was very close to a young man dressed elegantly, until an announcement was made by a present demon. The demon introduced everyone to the Princess of Ruin and her new partner, the young Akira. As the demons celebrated, a young girl with black cat ears interrupted them, calling them traitors and asking if they had already forgotten Issei. Before anyone could silence her definitively, a figure took her and vanished with her in a flash, leaving everyone nervous and surprised, thinking it might be Thor who had taken the girl. A few meters ahead, Kuroka prepared to attack the figure in front of her, but was surprised to find no hostility. Raiden asked him to tell him about Issei and his relationship with those women. Meanwhile, in Shang Tsung's palace, the Earth champions and the warriors from Udworld were gathered. Ryukatsei was the center of attention, embraced from behind by a red-haired assassin, while he held Li Mei around the waist. Joni Cage commented on the situation, although she still did not sympathize with him. Shortly after, the resurrected warrior Scorpion approached two Lin Kei, one dressed in yellow and the other in red. After a few minutes, Syrax pushed Scorpion, and a voice was heard. Shang Tsung announced a challenge between Scorpion and Syrax and Sector. During the fight, Scorpion struck Syrax, stunning him, while Sector charged at his opponent. Scorpion blocked the attacks until a kick landed in his stomach, followed by more blows that knocked him out. Sector was also defeated by Scorpion. Scorpion expressed his hatred for the Lin Kei and Sub-Zero but decided not to kill him. At that moment, Sub-Zero appeared at the entrance of the hall, and a palpable tension filled the air, foreshadowing a new battle. The chapter concludes with the promise of a more detailed confrontation between Scorpion and Sub-Zero in the next chapter. In the Grand Hall, the tension was palpable as Scorpion and Sub-Zero approached each other. Scorpion was determined to make Sub-Zero pay for the past, while Sub-Zero was equally defiant. With a swift motion, Scorpion grabbed Sub-Zero, and they vanished in a burst of fire, reappearing in a fiery realm. "This place witnessed my rebirth," Scorpion declared, "and it will witness your defeat." The battle commenced with both warriors charging at each other. After a fierce exchange, Scorpion landed a kick that temporarily stunned Sub-Zero, following up with a powerful blow to the chest. Regaining his footing, Sub-Zero retaliated with an aerial kick, but Scorpion countered with a series of strikes, eventually overpowering his opponent. As Scorpion stood victorious, Quan Chi appeared, urging him to remember his clan and family. The memories fueled Scorpion's anger, and despite Sub-Zero's pleas, he was consumed by his rage. Back in the hall, the onlookers watched as Scorpion returned, displaying Sub-Zero's defeat. Raiden, witnessing the aftermath, lamented the unjust end for a once noble defender. Ryukatsei noted the manipulation behind the conflict, observing Scorpion's pain rather than triumph. Syrax, reflecting on the situation, expressed his disagreement with the Lin Kei's plans for transformation, valuing instinct over blind obedience. Ryukatsei advised, "Never place duty above your will," a lesson from his own experience. As Syrax departed, unnoticed by all, a Tarkatan observer slipped away. Syrax soon arrived at the combat arena, where he found Sector conversing with Shang Tsung. "Sector, our host has tried to eliminate me," Syrax reported. Shang Tsung, wary of Syrax's recent interactions, remained skeptical but refrained from further action. Ryukatsei faced off against Syrax, who was accompanied by Jade and 3 Tarkatans. The Earth warriors watched in shock and concern, while Raiden quickly voiced his disapproval. Raiden expressed his frustration, noting the unfairness of the situation. Ryukatsei, however, was unfazed and found the challenge exciting. As the battle commenced, one of the Tarkatans charged at Ryukatsei, only to be met with a powerful blow to the chest. The Tarkatan attempted to retaliate but was quickly overpowered. The remaining Tarkatans hesitated, intimidated by Ryukatsei's prowess. As they prepared to attack, Ryukatsei drew a katana adorned with a dragon design, intensifying the atmosphere. He swiftly defeated the Tarkatans, showcasing his skill and leaving the onlookers in awe. Syrax then attacked with a mechanical arm, but Ryukatsei skillfully evaded and countered, revealing scars and seals on his chest that surprised the audience. With precise movements, Ryukatsei dismantled Syrax's weapon and continued the fight, demonstrating unmatched swordsmanship. Jade attempted to intervene but was quickly subdued. Ryukatsei's relentless attacks left Syrax struggling to recover. Eventually, Syrax was defeated and Jade was taken away by shadows. Ryukatsei pointed his katana at the sorcerer, who now appeared incredulous. Ryukatsei warned the sorcerer that he had awakened a sleeping dragon and should prepare for the consequences. With those final words, Ryukatsei sheathed his sword and approached his companions, sharing a moment of affection before leaving the battlefield. After the battle, Ryukatsei walked through the island, reflecting on the women who remained loyal to him. The thought of them possibly marrying someone else stirred a strong emotional response within him, causing his aura to intensify. Before it could escalate further, Raiden's voice interrupted, calling out to him. Ryukatsei stood before Raiden, his expression unreadable. That name belongs to someone who is no longer here. What do you want, Raiden? Raiden replied calmly, I'm aware of your past and the betrayal you faced, but there are better ways to find peace. Ryukatsei dismissed the notion. Spare me the lecture. No matter what you offer, I'm not like Scorpion. I have my own reasons for helping, so don't try to change my mind. Meanwhile, back at Ryukatsei's home, the Earth champions gathered in Liu Kang's room, more concerned about their ally than the threat from the outer world. Jax commented, just when I thought that guy couldn't get any more intense, he breaks the mold. Liu Kang asked, what do you mean, Jax? Why so nervous? Sonya explained, the person Raiden brought agreed to a 5-on-1 fight. It's not just that he defeated them, but he showed a new sword. I don't know which is more unsettling, the one he calls Zolkuin or this Shiryu. A chill filled the room at the mention of the name, leaving Sonya wondering what she had said to cause such silence. It was broken by Johnny Cage's remark, he also defeated the yellow-clad ninja who beat me, and now he has an appealing redhead with him. The group was taken aback by his comment, interrupted by the arrival of Raiden and Ryukatsei. The latter emerged from the room, his presence exuding a subtle, aggressive aura. Nightwolf asked, Raiden, what happened? Ryukatsei seems angrier than before. Raiden replied, it's a long story. I'll explain later. Later, in a forest near a lake and waterfall, Ryukatsei practiced sword movements, wielding both his katana and gladius. His movements were flawless and captivating. However, his practice was interrupted by a group of 30 thugs led by a man with a robotic red eye. Kano sneered, Kid, I have to admit, your moves and swords are impressive. Maybe I'll keep them after I take you down. Before Kano or his men could react, Ryukatsei charged at them, moving with precision and determination. The forest echoed with the sounds of conflict. Hours later, in Shang Tsung's combat hall, warriors from both realms gathered, including Ryukatsei's allies and even Kano, who had escaped the earlier encounter, looking pale and shaken. Sonya took a certain satisfaction in seeing Kano in such a state. Shang Tsung's voice cut through the tension. Lord Raiden, your champion is absent. Does this mean he refuses to fight? Prince Goro is a formidable opponent. Raiden responded, don't jump to conclusions, sorcerer. Don't make me think my champion's delay is your doing. Shang Tsung replied, I wouldn't dare challenge the gods. Don't make baseless accusations. Before more could be said, the hall doors opened to reveal Ryukatsei, his presence commanding attention. He approached the center of the hall to begin his battle. Scarlet extended her hand, drawing the attention of all present. Goro, the four-armed warrior, stepped forward. I was expecting to fight the Shaolin, but it seems that won't happen. I'll grant you a warrior's end. Ryukatsei replied, your end will be far from honorable. The battle commenced with Ryukatsui launching a swift attack, striking Goro with precision. Goro retaliated, but Ryukatsui deftly countered, demonstrating his skill. The fight continued with Ryukatsui gaining the upper hand, leaving Goro weakened. As the battle concluded, Ryukatsui approached his allies, greeted warmly by his companions and cautiously by others. Once the celebration subsided, Ryukatsui turned to Shang Tsung, who had risen from his throne. Shang Tsung. This is the final battle. Face me with honor in mortal combat. Shang Tsung accepted the challenge. So be it, and your soul will be mine. Both opponents stood facing each other, tension crackling in the air. One wore a smile that could unnerve even the bravest. The sorcerer launched a fiery spell, but to his disbelief, it was deflected and redirected back at him with a purple flame. The impact sent him sprawling across the hall. Recovering just in time, he managed to dodge a powerful stomp and punch that cracked the floor. Both fighters charged at each other again, fists colliding with force. The sorcerer stumbled, caught off guard, and was thrown to the ground with a swift move. As he tried to rise, he was met with a kick that sent him back down. Seizing the moment, he swept his opponent's legs, buying time to stand. His adversary then launched a series of swift attacks, some blocked, but a powerful strike lifted the sorcerer into the air, followed by a kick to the back and stomach that drove him into the ground. Moments later, a double knee strike landed on his midsection. Refusing to be defeated, Shang Tsung rose and attempted a flurry of punches, but they were deftly deflected. Growing weary of the futile attempts, Ryukatsui unleashed a barrage of strikes to the sorcerer's stomach, face, and chest, finishing with a precise double strike. The sorcerer, now on his knees, was knocked down by a direct kick. After a few moments, he regained consciousness, only to find a sword poised near his neck. Terrified, he exclaimed his surrender, acknowledging Ryukatsui as the victor. Ryukatsui reminded him of the promise to deliver his soul to Zolkuin. As the sword was raised, the sorcerer's consumed souls began to escape, aging him rapidly. Before the cursed blade could claim all, he vanished with a spell. Soon after, a portal appeared, and Baraka, Kano, Reptile, Sector, and a striking woman with black hair and blue attire emerged. She glanced briefly at the new champion and his allies, including a recovered Liu Kang. Meanwhile, in the realm of Oddworld, an emperor fumed over the sorcerer's defeat, a mistake that could have been fatal if not for a proposed solution to conquer Earth. Back on Earth 2, Ryukatsui's origin, the team dealing with the supernatural faced ongoing conflicts with remnants of the Chaos Brigade, often saved by Odin's Valkyries or Zeus's guards. Yet, nothing was more significant than the loss of the Life Cup, once used by Merlin to create immortal armies and heal mortal wounds, and the Holy Grail, which they hoped to use to resurrect Rizban Lucifer and the evil dragons. At the Shaolin Temple in Raiden's land, a ceremony was held to crown the Mortal Kombat champion. Among the attendees were Earth's champions, Ryukatsui's partners, and Syrax, who had pledged loyalty to Ryukatsui after being saved from the Lin Kuei. Jade, having recovered from her battle, had also joined them. Ryukatsui, dressed in martial arts attire, approached Raiden to receive the dragon medal and a symbol marking him as an ally of the Shaolin. Later, in the temple, Ryukatsui reflected on the battles ahead. In a corridor, he encountered Jax and Raiden, who expressed gratitude for the victory over Oddworld. Ryukatsui acknowledged the ongoing threats, determined to eliminate them. As they spoke, a fourth figure appeared, causing Ryukatsui to frown, frustrated at not having absorbed all the souls. Raiden addressed the newcomer, noting the sorcerer's rejuvenated appearance, much to Jax's surprise and displeasure. Raiden was unaware that his MSTR had a habit of rewarding failure. Shang Tsung approached him with an offer from the Emperor, a single tournament to be held in the outer world. Raiden expressed his reluctance, seeing no reason to comply with the Emperor's demands. Shang Tsung explained that if the Emperor won, Earth would be absorbed into the outer world. However, if Shao Kahn was victorious, he would relinquish any claim to Earth forever. Despite this, Raiden refused the offer. Suddenly, a portal opened, and several Tarkatans emerged, launching a surprise attack on the Shaolin monks. Raiden engaged Shang Tsung in battle, while Jax and Ryukatsui fought against the Tarkatans. Ryukatsui wielded his two swords with great skill, but in the chaos, Jax was momentarily overpowered. The next morning, Jax tried to piece together the events of the previous night. Ryukatsui, feeling restless and caged, was still on edge. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure with dark wings had entered and kidnapped Jade, leaving Ryukatsui, the future Dragon Lord, seething with anger. Jax, recovering from the ordeal, muttered to himself, "Can someone tell me what hit me?" Raiden informed the group that Sonya had been taken by Shang Tsung. Ryukatsui was particularly furious, as one of his partners had also been taken. Kung Lao urged everyone to act quickly and pursue them. Raiden warned that Earth would be in constant danger if they didn't participate in the new tournament. Suddenly, Raiden had a vision of Liu Kang winning the tournament. However, Ryukatsui was not interested in visions. He was determined to reclaim his partner and confront the Emperor. The group, filled with determination, vanished in a flash of lightning to the new tournament in the outer world. They arrived at the entrance of a castle. Raiden had managed to transport Jax, Johnny Cage, Ryukatsui, Scarlet, who was guiding them through the outer world, Liu Kang and Kung Lao. The latter two were sent to rescue their emissaries, who had been captured when Shang Tsung delivered Shao Kahn's message. Ryukatsui, still frustrated and furious, charged at the guards with his swords, taking down many of them. Johnny Cage was taken aback by Ryukatsui's ferocity, and Jax commented on his unmatched strength. Scarlet explained that Ryukatsui was a dragon, and dragons are very protective of what belongs to them. As they made their way up the stairs, they encountered centaurs who blocked their path but were quickly defeated. They entered the throne room where Shao Kahn was seated, receiving tribute. Jax identified Shao Kahn as the leader, and Johnny Cage made a comment about his appearance. Raiden explained that he had sent Liu Kang and Kung Lao to free their emissaries, hoping Sonya and Jade would be there with Shang Tsung. Ryukatsui was determined to make the Emperor pay if any harm had come to his partner. Shang Tsung then initiated a combat between Jax and Baraka. Jax fought fiercely, eventually defeating Baraka. Jax demanded to know where Sonya was, but before Shang Tsung could respond, Reptile whispered something to him, leading to the cancellation of the next fight. Raiden, alarmed by a new vision about Sonya, quickly teleported the group as close as possible to Sonya and Jade's location. They found themselves in a workshop with rivers of lava. Johnny Cage expressed frustration at their distance from their destination. Scarlet explained that they were in the arsenal where Shao Kahn forged weapons. Jax was visibly upset about not finding his colleague. Meanwhile, Ryukatsui focused on locating his partner, using a mark he had placed on her. After a brief altercation between Jax and Johnny, which Jax won, they followed Ryukatsui and Scarlet to a part of the arsenal. There, they encountered a woman with bat-like wings named Nidera. She ordered them to leave, but Ryukatsui recognized her as the one who had taken his partner. He engaged in a fierce battle with Nidera, ultimately defeating her. Jax commented on Ryukatsui's calm demeanor after the fight, to which Ryukatsui retorted about Jax's earlier fight with Johnny. Johnny Cage dismissed their banter, and the group continued on their mission. Thanks to the new information, the group knew where to head. Scarlet commented that her partner was already guiding them. After a brief journey, they arrived at some sewers where they saw a four-armed woman delivering a chest to Shao Kahn, accompanied by several warriors guarding Sonya and Jade. Sonya wondered why the Shogun liked sewers so much. Shiva, feeling dishonored by an escape attempt, replied that they were now trapped there. Jade praised Shiva as a warrior but suggested she had much to learn as a woman. Suddenly, an explosion resonated, and Ryukatsui and the others appeared. Shiva, recognizing the man who had defeated Goro, ordered her guards to stop them but insisted on dealing with Ryukatsui personally. In the confrontation, both exchanged blows skillfully, but ultimately Ryukatsui managed to take Shiva out of the fight. Meanwhile, Scarlet and the others battled the guards. Ryukatsui freed Sonya and Jade, and as he did, he wrapped his arms around Jade's waist and kissed her. Sonya commented on Ryukatsui's skills with women, and Johnny Cage joked about wanting to learn his secret. Sonya detected multiple figures with advanced technology, and Raiden suggested they split up to investigate these sources of energy. On a dark beach, Smoke and Sub-Zero from the Lin Kuei clan were preparing to search for the sorcerer Shang Tsung. Smoke encountered Princess Kitana, who warned him about the Lin Kuei's prohibition in the outer world. A confrontation broke out between them, and Smoke managed to take Kitana out of the fight. Smoke continued his search and found Shang Tsung alongside the criminal Kano, evaluating weapons for a future battle. Smoke interrupted, and Kano confronted him. After an intense fight, Smoke left Kano incapacitated. Determined, Smoke continued his mission. Smoke stood before Shang Tsung, demanding answers about the death of Sub-Zero. As the sorcerer transformed into the likeness of the fallen Baihan, Smoke remained unimpressed. "Even if you take his form, you won't gain his abilities," Smoke declared, ready for battle. The fight commenced with Smoke launching a smoke bomb, pushing Shang Tsung back. Smoke then turned his attention to Reptile, striking him swiftly. Reptile retaliated, but Smoke skillfully dodged and countered, eventually leaving both opponents unable to continue. "Now, tell me what you know about Sub-Zero's death," Smoke insisted. Before Shang Tsung could respond, a robotic voice interrupted. It was Sector, another member of the Lin Kuei, now transformed into a cyborg. "Smoke, you disobeyed orders. Return for your transformation," Sector demanded. Smoke was shocked to see Sector's transformation but stood his ground. The two engaged in combat, with Smoke skillfully evading and countering Sector's attacks. Eventually, Smoke emerged victorious, declaring he would never succumb to the cyborg initiative. As Smoke began to leave, more cyborgs appeared, capturing him. Meanwhile, Raiden, Johnny Cage, Ryukatsui, and Jade arrived, sensing the energy in the area. Raiden quickly intervened, freeing Smoke with a bolt of lightning. "Thank you, Lord Raiden," Smoke said, introducing himself. Raiden explained their mission to save Earth through the tournament and asked for Smoke's help. Smoke hesitated, worried for his friend Sub-Zero, who was also being targeted by the Lin Kuei. Johnny Cage recalled hearing about Sub-Zero's fate at the hands of Scorpion. Smoke explained the Lin Kuei's plan to turn them into cyborgs and expressed his concern for Sub-Zero's safety. Ryukatsui suggested that Sub-Zero might be at the tournament, seeking his brother's killer. Meanwhile, Sub-Zero had been searching for answers in the Chamber of Souls, freezing guards who refused to cooperate. A Lin Kuei soldier appeared, ordering him to return to the temple. Sub-Zero refused, initiating a battle. Sub-Zero fought fiercely, eventually defeating the cyborg soldier. "I will face the Grandmaster and the cyborgs once my mission is complete," he vowed. Shortly after, Jax and Sonya arrived at the Chamber of Souls, surprised to see Sub-Zero. As they approached, Sub-Zero recognized the BLD sorceress accompanying them. "Scarlet," he exclaimed, readying himself for another confrontation. Sub-Zero stood firm, demanding answers. "What are you doing here? Give me a reason not to freeze you." Scarlet intervened calmly. "Relax, Sub-Zero. My allegiance is with Earth for now, so I'm not your enemy." Sub-Zero nodded, shifting focus. "Then tell me who killed my brother." Sonya answered, "Someone named Scorpion." "Where is he?" Sub-Zero pressed. Sonya pointed, "Look in the coliseum, that's where." Before she could finish, a voice echoed, and Ermac appeared. Jax attempted to confront him but was quickly overpowered. Scarlet and Sonya worked together to stabilize Jax's condition. Ermac threatened, "We will destroy you too." Sub-Zero responded, "Not if I destroy you first." The battle began with Ermac striking first, but Sub-Zero countered skillfully, eventually defeating Ermac with a series of strategic moves. Concerned for Jax, Sonya tried to contact their command center without success. Sub-Zero reassured her, "The bleeding has stopped." Sonya replied urgently, "Yes, but he needs medical attention soon." Sub-Zero decided, "I must investigate the coliseum." Sonya protested, "But I need your help to get him to safety." Sub-Zero instructed, "There's a portal to the south. Use it to return to Earth." With that, Sonya and Jax departed, while Scarlet joined Sub-Zero on his journey to the coliseum. Upon arrival, they witnessed a battle between Princess Kitana and a monk. Kitna emerged victorious but hesitated at her father's command to kill the defeated. Seizing the moment, Sub-Zero approached. Emperor Shao Kahn, I challenge Scorpion, the murderer of my brother, Sub-Zero declared. Shang Tsung interjected, you have no authority here. Reptile entered the arena, and a fierce battle ensued. Sub-Zero's skill and determination led him to victory, but he spared Reptile's life, seeking only justice for his brother. Shao Kahn acknowledged, very well, you shall face Scorpion. Quan Chi summoned Scorpion, who appeared, ready to fight. Who are you? You are not Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero replied, we share family and clan. I fight for his honor. Scorpion retorted, he had no honor. And you will die too. The battle was intense, with Sub-Zero ultimately gaining the upper hand. Just as he prepared to end it, the Cyber Lin K intervened, allowing Scorpion to escape. Sub-Zero exclaimed, for my brother. Sector and a Lin K soldier arrived, seeking to take Sub-Zero back for judgment. Shao Kahn considered their offer, what do I gain from granting this bold request? The soldier promised, the loyalty, service, and strength of the Lin K. Shao Kahn agreed, very well, he is yours. Before anything more could happen, a shadow resembling a dragon enveloped Sub-Zero, leaving everyone stunned. As the chapter concluded, the champions of Earth, including Smoke, arrived at the coliseum. Smoke moved to assist Sub-Zero but was stopped by Raiden. Raiden commanded, no. The temporal flow had changed, and Ryukatsui had managed to alter Smoke's fate. Before the Lin K could capture the new Sub-Zero, Ryukatsui performed a hand gesture, summoning a shadowy dragon that attacked the Cyber Lin K, whisking Sub-Zero away and leaving the onlookers. Astonished, Raiden approached Ryukatsui, confronting him about the consequences of his actions. Raiden expressed concern about the altered timeline, but Ryukatsui dismissed his worries, declaring that he would defy destiny and overcome any obstacles, whether they be monsters, gods, or emperors. Meanwhile, Shao Kahn was reprimanding Princess Kitna, prompting Jade to follow her friend and offer support. Raiden used his powers to transport himself, Johnny Cage, Smoke, Ryukatsui, and Scarlet to a new location. Scarlet was in a euphoric state, having received a drop of BLD from her beloved. Kitna, feeling frustrated after her father's reprimand, argued with her longtime friend Jade. As they reached a beach, Jade shared a tender moment with her partner, Ryukatsui, before Raiden requested an audience. Kitna, still upset, prepared for combat, prompting Smoke and Johnny Cage to do the same. Ryukatsui advised against fighting her at that moment. After a tense standoff, Raiden intervened, preventing Kitna from attacking. He helped the fighters to their feet, and Johnny Cage expressed his gratitude, albeit with a hint of sarcasm. Raiden then spoke to Kitna, suggesting that she felt an inner conflict and urging her to seek answers at Shang Tsung's flesh pits. Kitna hesitated, aware of the prohibition, but Raiden insisted it was a journey she must undertake alone. As the conversation ended, Raiden and the others departed, leaving Jade to whisper a few words to her partner before they parted ways. Determined to uncover the truth, Kitna set out for the flesh pits. Meanwhile, in another realm, tensions were rising as the Chaos Brigade launched an attack, stealing two powerful swords from the angels. Michael, facing rejection from both demons and fallen angels, sought help from allied factions to rescue his sister and prevent further chaos. Back in Oddworld, Kitna arrived at the flesh pits without encountering obstacles. She was horrified to find several figures in containment tubes, most of them female. Approaching a table, she discovered a woman who resembled her, with only a few differences. As Kitna drew closer, the woman's eyes opened, and she greeted Kitna as her sister. Kitna, taken aback, denied the familial connection. Kitna and her sister prepared to fight, but before they could begin, a shuriken with a purple gem embedded in it landed at their feet. Kitna recognized it and turned to see Jade standing nearby. Jade assured Kitna that despite her relationship with an Earthling, she remained her friend. Kitna felt relieved, knowing she still had her friend by her side, and together they charged at their opponent. In a tower, Kitna was tied to a mast, reflecting on the painful truth she had recently learned about her origins. After she and Jade had defeated their adversary, Shang Tsung appeared, boasting about his quest for perfection. This led to another battle between the two women and the sorcerer. Once they defeated Shang Tsung, Kitna took him to Shao Kahn, who revealed that he was not her father and had killed her real father. Meanwhile, Jade made her way to the arsenal to reach the tower where Kitna was held. She encountered Baraka, who was guarding the area. Jade confronted him, demanding to see Kitna. Baraka refused, citing his orders. A fight ensued, with Jade skillfully using her combat staff to block Baraka's attacks. She managed to land several blows, demonstrating her prowess. Baraka, recalling the fierce reputation of Jade's partner, felt a mix of fear and respect. Despite his efforts, Jade overpowered him, leaving him on the ground. Jade advised Baraka to have his own perspective and remain vigilant. With Baraka incapacitated, she continued towards the tower. She swiftly dealt with the guards and attempted to free Kitna. However, Baraka regained consciousness and raised the alarm, summoning more guards. Kitna urged Jade to escape and seek help from Raiden and Ryukatsui. Reluctantly, Jade fled, evading the Tarkatan guards. After some time, Jade managed to lose the guards and headed to the beach, where she encountered a familiar figure. Jade recognized her as Melina, who invited her to a gathering in honor of her sister. The conflict began with Jade launching an attack, but Melina skillfully blocked her knee strike and countered with a series of punches. Jade managed to land a hit on Melina's ribs, causing her to step back. The fight continued with Jade using her combat staff, which Melina blocked with her weapons. The battle was intense, with both fighters exchanging blows until Melina disappeared in a cloud of dark purple smoke, reappearing behind Jade to land a decisive uppercut and kick, leaving Jade defeated. As Melina prepared to strike again, a mysterious purple membrane appeared, protecting Jade. The scene shifted as a powerful presence emerged, exuding an aura that captivated Melina. The man charged at her, and she barely dodged his powerful punch, which cracked the ground where she had stood. The fight continued with Melina struggling against the man's overwhelming strength, ultimately leaving her defeated. From a distance, Raiden, Johnny Cage, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and Smoke watched in awe at the display of power. Ryukatsui approached Jade, intending to heal her, but Smoke, feeling indignant, approached with hostility. However, a single glance from Ryukatsui, with eyes like a reptile, made Smoke retreat silently. After the battle, Jade informed the Earth Warriors of Kitna's fate, prompting Liu Kang and Kung Lao to head to Shao Kahn's fortress to rescue her, while Ryukatsui and others prepared for the tournament. At the Coliseum, Smoke faced Reiko but was quickly defeated. Johnny Cage's fight against Ermac was more entertaining, though he lacked the experience to win. Liu Kang and Kung Lao arrived to learn of their allies' defeats. Kung Lao stepped into the arena to face the sorcerers Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, driven by a mix of courage and resentment. Meanwhile, Ryukatsui's weapons seemed eager for battle. Kung Lao's fight against the feline Shokin, Kintaro, was fierce. Despite being thrown and struck, Kung Lao fought back with determination, eventually dislocating Kintaro's arm and delivering a series of powerful blows. The battle ended with Kung Lao's victory, but before celebrations could begin, Shao Kahn treacherously attacked, leaving Kung Lao's fate uncertain. Raiden's cry of Kung Lao echoed through the arena, marking a dramatic turn in the unfolding events. Before Raiden could unleash his electric attack, a dark purple fire struck Shao Kahn, leaving the area slightly scorched. Liu Kang seized the opportunity to charge but was stopped by an elbow to the chest, pushing him back a few meters. As he recovered, he saw that it was Ryukatsui who had intervened. Before he could say anything, the voice of the dragon was heard, sounding as if multiple people were speaking at once. Ryukatsui advised Liu Kang to step back, noting his anger and distraction. Introducing himself as the malevolent dragon of the earth, Ryukatsui challenged Emperor Shao Kahn to a duel for the throne of Oddworld. Shao Kahn laughed at the challenge, dismissing it as worthless. However, Ryukatsui offered the power and soul of the great dragon king Onaga, causing surprise and fear among the onlookers, and for the first time, Shao Kahn showed a hint of fear. Ryukatsui reminded Shao Kahn of Onaga, whom Shao Kahn had never defeated in direct combat, resorting to poison instead. He taunted Shao Kahn, questioning if he would accept the challenge or flee like a coward. The two faced off, surrounded by various spectators, including Reptile, Baraka, Nara, General Reiko, Queen Shiva, Motaro, and some surprised champions of Earth. The fight began with both charging at each other, exchanging powerful blows. Shao Kahn initially gained ground but was soon pushed back by Ryukatsei's relentless attacks. Despite Shao Kahn's attempts to retaliate, Ryukatsei's skill and strength were overwhelming. As the battle raged on, Shao Kahn, feeling frustrated and impotent, attempted a desperate attack with a green energy sphere. Ryukatsei countered with a powerful combination of dark energy, eventually overpowering Shao Kahn's attack, resulting in a massive explosion that obscured the battlefield in smoke. When the smoke cleared, Ryukatsei stood with his upper body damaged and dirted, while Shao Kahn bore burns and bruises but remained standing. Shao Kahn, wielding his warhammer, continued to attack with brute force but lacked strategy. Ryukatsei, growing weary of the relentless attacks, drew his swords, Shiryu and Zoltguin, and struck Shao Kahn in non-vital areas, causing visible pain. Ryukatsei taunted Shao Kahn, explaining that the swords slowly drained his adversary's strength. As Shao Kahn struggled, Ryukatsei noted the irony of Shao Kahn's actions, comparing him to Shang Tsung. Shao Kahn defiantly questioned what Ryukatsei planned to do, insisting he was not easy to kill. Ryukatsei remained unfazed, confident in his victory. The legendary sword was once wielded by a great king in my world, used to defeat dragons, monsters, and demons. With a swift motion, it ended Shao Kahn's reign, leaving everyone present in shock and awe. As some bowed to the new emperor, others remained hesitant, unaware that one of the two sorcerers had already escaped with several of Shao Kahn's allies. After demonstrating his power to Shao Kahn's subordinates, Ryukatsei approached Princess Kitna, who was chained. With a single motion, he freed her, and she embraced him passionately, leaving a few onlookers stunned. Meanwhile, in another world, the old members of the Chaos Brigade had managed to revive Rizbin and the malevolent dragons, though their power was only partially restored. A voice echoed in the room, questioning the purpose of the resurrection. A servant explained that it was to reclaim his rightful place as emperor. Rizbin, however, was skeptical, noting the challenges ahead. A sinister smile formed on his face as plans began to take shape. Back in the kingdom of Oddworld, hours had passed since Ryukatsei's victory. He made his way to what would now be his throne, accompanied by his companions and the warriors of Oddworld. As he took his seat, the warriors bowed once more, but a challenge arose from Reiko, a loyal general of Shao Kahn. Before a confrontation could begin, a fifth female figure emerged, revealing Reiko's true intentions. Ryukatsei swiftly engaged Reiko, demonstrating his prowess in combat. Despite Reiko's attempts to retaliate, Ryukatsei's skill prevailed. Melina, resembling Kitna but with distinct features, intervened, expressing her longing to handle Reiko herself. Afterward, Ryukatsei summoned Raiden, Johnny Cage, Smoke, Jax, Sonya, and a revived Kung Lao, who had been saved by Ryukatsei. They were greeted by a scene of Shang Tsung being SRPD of his powers. Raiden acknowledged the safety of Earth, to which Ryukatsei responded with indifference, requesting an audience with the ancient gods, leaving the warriors both shocked and concerned about his intentions. In a dimly lit room, Kitna and Melina were resting, feeling content with their partner, who was now with them and their other companions. Melina felt a surge of happiness as she recalled the moment she first met her partner. Flashback: Melina found herself in an unfamiliar place, remembering only a fierce battle with a formidable opponent. As she awoke in the darkness, the same person who had defeated her appeared. "Who are you, and what do you want from me?" Melina asked. "By the scent of your BLD, you must be related to Kitna, but there's something different about you," the figure replied. "You weren't born, you were created." Melina pondered this revelation, realizing why she felt different. "So, you think I'm just a tool, created to serve? Do you want to live like that, or would you prefer a life where you're not in anyone's shadow?" the figure asked, gently touching her face and surprising her with a tender kiss. And flashback back in the present, Ryukatsui turned his attention to Kitana, marking her as his partner. After some time, Lime and Jade were resting, exhausted yet curious about the endurance of a dragon. Their thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door, revealing Queen Shiva, who entered with a slight blush at the sight of the Emperor and his companions. "My lord, Lord Raiden has not yet arrived," Shiva announced before leaving the room. In the throne room, Ryukatsui and his companions sat on various thrones, with Lime and Kitana closest to him. Raiden soon entered, showing respect. "New ruler of Udworld, the ancient gods wish to speak with you," Raiden announced. Ryukatsui rose from his throne, joining Raiden in a flash of lightning to appear in the god's sanctuary, feeling a sense of unease in such a place. "Ancient gods, I have brought him as you requested," Raiden stated. "Let's skip the introductions," Ryukatsui said. "I want the underworld and Gregory from my planet." "We cannot allow that," the ancient gods replied. "Mortal Kombat was created to maintain balance. If you invade, we will stop you." "I never said I would take it by force. We have something called the Rat Game, a competition between families," Ryukatsui explained. "The proposal is acceptable," the gods agreed. Raiden questioned the gods' decision, concerned about future threats to his world. "You have the promise of a dragon," Ryukatsui assured them. The gods accepted his word, knowing the pride and honor of dragons. Ryukatsui then requested to be updated on recent events. As knowledge filled his mind, an intense aura surrounded him, causing even the ancient gods to feel uneasy. "Ancient gods, I will not act immediately. First, I need to deal with some issues, but I require the support of my troops," Ryukatsui declared. Raiden inquired about the situation, and Ryukatsui explained the potential threat of a new, ambitious ruler. Meanwhile, in another realm, a captive named Gabriel was held in a chaotic faction's castle, facing her captor, who took pleasure in her predicament. Outside, malevolent dragons gathered, frustrated by their limited power. "I don't know what's happening. We've been revived for 3 months, yet my power remains at 60%, Yamada no Orochi expressed. "You're not alone. It's infuriating not being able to challenge that weakling," Krumkruch added, sharing the sentiment. The most powerful malevolent dragon was in the palace when a lightning bolt resonated outside, alerting several guards of the chaotic faction. Upon arriving at the scene, the guards observed 2 figures. One emanated a calm aura but with a hint of danger, while the other radiated malice and hostility. Even the power of the gathered malevolent dragons seemed insignificant compared to that of the latter figure. Before anyone could react, the figure resembling a martial artist formed a sphere of dark electric light in his hands. In an instant he launched the attack toward the castle gate. The onlookers thought such an apparently weak attack could not destroy a gate reinforced with magical seals. However, their disbelief was profound when the attack shattered the door as if it were made of paper and toppled a couple of towers of the castle. The guards who were not struck by the attack quickly surrounded the 2 figures, but they were pushed aside by the malevolent dragon Apophis, who calmly observed the figure before him. Raiden stood a few meters behind Ryukatsui, contemplating how he ended up bringing this dragon here. He realized it was because he didn't want to be on the wrong side of a powerful threat. As the 2 dragons faced each other, tension filled the air. In a swift move, Apophis launched an attack, which was countered by his opponent. Ryukatsui retaliated, causing Apophis to stagger back. Despite the pain and instinct to flee, Apophis refused to be seen as a coward among the dragons. Transforming into his true dragon form, Apophis charged at Ryukatsui, who had drawn his sword, Zoltguin. As Apophis attempted to overpower him, Ryukatsui struck back fiercely. The battle was intense, with Ryukatsui demonstrating his formidable skills. The onlookers were shocked to see Ryukatsui's true dragon form, which was impressive enough to force Apophis into a full transformation. Apophis unleashed a massive fire attack, hoping to defeat Ryukatsui, but was horrified to see him unharmed. Ryukatsui countered with a powerful strike, and the 2 dragons clashed fiercely. After a tense standoff, Ryukatsui decisively defeated Apophis, leaving the other dragons in awe and fear. Meanwhile, Raisbin watched Gabriel with a sinister gaze. Despite the chaos outside, he was confident in his plans. However, the sight of Apophis defeated and the other dragons struggling forced him to reconsider. He activated alarms, signaling his followers to retreat. As Ryukatsei's attack overwhelmed the remaining dragons, he reverted to his human form and advanced toward the castle, determined to confront Raisbin. Raiden, witnessing the scene, was left in awe of Ryukatsei's power and determination. Together, they reached a room where Gabriel's presence could be faintly felt. The chapter ends with Ryukatsei and Raiden standing at the threshold of a new confrontation, the air thick with anticipation and unresolved tension. In the palace of Udworld, Ryukatsei sat on his throne, surrounded by his companions, as he gave instructions to his army for the final war of the outer world. Udworld had changed significantly in a short time, with the most noticeable change being the cessation of battles for the Emperor's amusement. Now, they were only held to maintain the dragon's fire that characterized the outer world. Despite this, Ryukatsei couldn't help but think of his beloved angel, Gabriel. In a past memory, after freeing Gabriel, Ryukatsei healed her and took her to the heavens to ease the angel's concerns. He had wanted to confront Raisbin again, but the coward had fled with most of his followers, making the search futile. Upon reaching the heavens, the angels pointed their spears at Ryukatsei and Raiden until they saw Gabriel standing behind him, emanating a powerful aura. Their tension increased, preparing for a fight, until Gabriel's voice stopped them. Gabriel instructed the angels to lower their weapons, assuring them that Ryukatsei was not an enemy. She requested entry and asked for her brother. Once the order was given, the angels lowered their weapons but remained tense. Shortly after, Michael arrived, smiling at the sight of the most appealing angel alive, despite her wounds, which could be healed. He thanked the warrior who had helped. Michael expressed his gratitude to Ryukatsei, who introduced himself and proposed an alliance with the angels. Michael questioned what Ryukatsei wanted in return, to which Ryukatsei replied that he wished for Gabriel's hand. Michael refused, unwilling to trade his sister for power, and asked Ryukatsei to leave. Ryukatsei warned that if Gabriel were ever in danger, he would come for her to ensure her safety. With that, Ryukatsei and Raiden departed, leaving the angels relieved that such a formidable being was not hostile toward them. Gabriel reassured her brother of Ryukatsei's genuine intentions. Ryukatsei was brought back to the present by his new empress, Queen Sindle, whom he had revived with Raiden's help. He offered her the throne of Edenia, which she initially resisted, fearing another tyrant. However, she was pleasantly surprised by the new kingdom and accepted willingly, though she was not yet his wife. Ryukatsei addressed the Lin Kei, urging them to restore their clan's honor, tarnished by the Cyber Initiative. He assured them that their place in Udworld was secure. Sub-Zero, Syrax, Smoke, and various non-robotic Lin Kei members bowed and left to rebuild their clan. Shortly after, Melina entered, serving as an instructor for the Outer World's army. She approached Ryukatsei and kissed him, leaving Queen Sindel slightly envious. Meanwhile, in Asgard, Rosweiss trained with her friend Kara, a fellow Valkyrie aware of her feelings for the former Sekirei. After their practice, they prepared to meet Odin to request retirement from the Valkyries. They overheard a conversation between Odin and his son Thor, discussing the betrayal and death of Issei. Shocked by the revelation, Rosweiss fainted, and Kara caught her. Upon waking, Rosweiss confronted Odin, demanding confirmation of Issei's fate. Odin regretfully confirmed the truth, explaining that Issei had been seen as a disposable tool, betrayed by demons, fallen angels, and even the Red Dragon Emperor. Overcome with anger, Rosweiss vowed to make the traitors pay for angering a Valkyrie in Odin's service. Odin cautioned her against acting rashly, warning that it could lead to a more complicated conflict. Despite her anger, Rosweiss remained determined to seek justice for her beloved. Meanwhile, in an office of the yokai faction, Yasaka, Aphrodite, Freya, and Seraphal were conversing. Seraphal proposed to Yasaka that they purchase land to raise funds for the war, offering the yokai 30% of the profits. However, Yasaka thanked her for the offer but explained that the Greeks had already purchased that land and were offering 50%, so they decided to accept that proposal. At that moment, a yokai entered to inform Yasaka that an unknown individual wished to speak with her. Apologizing to Seraphol, Aphrodite, and Freya, Yasaka decided to attend to the visitor. Upon entering, Yasaka felt a strong attraction to the figure that appeared, an imposing warrior clad in a traditional sleeveless white Chinese shirt and black briefs. The goddesses were also impressed by his presence. Seraphol was the first to react, asking the man for his identity. He replied that it was rude to ask for someone's name without first introducing oneself. Surprised by the man's lack of interest, Seraphol introduced herself as the magical and appealing Seraphol Leviathan. The man, named Ryukatsui, introduced himself and requested to speak with Yasaka alone. The other women exited the room. Once alone, Yasaka and Ryukatsui discussed their intentions. Ryukatsui expressed his longing to form an alliance with Yasaka and her kingdom, proposing that she and her daughter become his wives, though Yasaka rejected the idea of including her daughter in the arrangement. Yasaka accepted the marriage proposal on the condition that Ryukatsui win a fight. The conversation turned serious when Yasaka noticed a pendant on Ryukatsui that looked familiar, as she had given it to Issei. Moved by the possibility that Ryukatsui was Issei, Yasaka hugged him tightly, fearing he would disappear if she let go. The tension in the room was palpable as Yasaka confronted Ryukatsui. She had believed him to be dead, betrayed by those he once trusted. But here he was, standing before her, determined to seek vengeance and forge new alliances. "I have returned," Ryukatsui declared, "and I intend to make amends with those who truly care for me." Yasaka nodded, offering her support. "I will help you, but you must first prove yourself in combat. Only then can we discuss further alliances." Ryukatsui agreed, intrigued by the challenge. "Who will I face?" Yasaka smiled mysteriously. "That will be a surprise." As they left the room, Yasaka maintained a composed demeanor, not wanting to draw attention from Seraphol, who had been observing their interaction. "Yasaka," Seraphol inquired, "what did that man want?" "He seeks a political alliance through marriage, but only if he proves himself worthy in battle," Yasaka explained. "And if he loses?" Seraphol asked. "Then he will grant me any request within his power," Yasaka replied. The scene shifted to a grand coliseum where Ryukatsui prepared to face his opponents. Among them were Susanoo, the storm god, and the elegant Shinigami. The crowd watched in awe as Ryukatsui faced these formidable deities. Seraphol, observing from the sidelines, was impressed by the challenge Yasaka had set. "He must face all three at once. That's quite the test." Yasaka nodded. "He must prove himself worthy of my hand and my daughter's." The battle commenced with Susanoo launching a fierce attack, but Ryukatsui skillfully evaded and countered. Shinigami followed with her own assault, but Ryukatsui's agility allowed him to dodge her strikes effortlessly. As the fight continued, Ryukatsui's prowess became evident, leaving the spectators in awe. Even Yasaka, despite her composed exterior, felt a thrill at the prospect of Ryukatsui's victory. The battle concluded with Ryukatsui emerging victorious, having demonstrated his strength and skill. Yasaka's expression softened, knowing that he had proven himself worthy. Meanwhile, Seraphol, intrigued by Ryukatsui's capabilities, began to contemplate her own plans, seeing potential in an alliance with him. As the chapter concluded, the spectators dispersed, still buzzing with excitement over the unexpected turn of events. Ryukatsui's victory had opened new possibilities, and Yasaka looked forward to what the future might hold. The elves had been quite stubborn, but now, before another thought could cross his mind, a communication circle appeared in front of him, revealing the worried expression of the Mao Leviathan. Surzex couldn't help but feel annoyed at being interrupted by the youthful Mao, thinking it was another complaint about her sister not letting her embrace her. He was about to express his frustration when Seraphol spoke. Seraphol instructed Surzex to contact his family and queen while she did the same with hers, emphasizing the urgency of an immediate meeting. Not knowing what had caused Seraphol to become so serious, Surzex proceeded to get dressed and call his sister, parents, and the other Maos for this unexpected gathering. An hour later, in a meeting room, the four Maos were present along with the Gremry group, the Citri nobility, and the new Security. Soon, Grafia arrived and the meeting began. Serafal, with a serious look, instructed everyone not to interrupt or ask questions until the end. She then played a DVD showing the Battle of Ryukatsei. However, the video initially displayed a young Sona, prompting a quick change of the disc to the correct footage. As the battle against the gods played, the attendees were silenced by a cold glare that promised severe consequences for interruptions. Akira's thoughts wandered, doubting the strength of the combatants against the powerful gods. As the video concluded with the new character's decisive victory, Surzex declared the need to recruit him. Venelana remarked that it was a pity their daughter was already promised, as he would have been a great addition to the Gremry clan. Sona Citri and others expressed interest in the powerful warrior, noting his combat prowess. The discussion stirred emotions among the women present, while the new Security felt a growing sense of rivalry. Surzex announced a decision: any woman from any clan or status who could secure a contract with the powerful warrior would be rewarded with land, a share of business profits, and the title of Grand Demon, second only to the Maos. This declaration left many of the women blushing, including Venelana and Grafia. As the meeting dispersed, only Rias Gremry, her pawn, Surzex, and Grafia remained. Rias inquired if her brother had found candidates for her last two pawn pieces. Only those present knew that when Rias turned Akira into her pawn, she hoped he would have the same or greater potential than Issei. However, she was disappointed when only 6 pawns were used, prompting her to seek her brother's help in finding more candidates. As they spoke, Akira approached Grafia with ill intentions, but she quickly thwarted his plan. Surzex lamented that most candidates were too weak and refused to allow further dishonor in Rias's group, having already dealt with Issei. Draig suggested training Akira with Tanin, believing he could improve just as Issei had. Surzex agreed, making a mental note to contact Tanin, as Akira would be crucial in subduing dragons when the time came. With the plan set, they left the room. Meanwhile, in the realm of Oddworld, a serious Ryukatsei sat listening to reports from his commanders and champions. Reptile informed him that there was no trace of the sorcerer Quan Chi or those who escaped with him. Lady Shiva added that the traitors had escaped their cells, possibly with outside help, as there were signs of a struggle. Among the escapees were renegade Tarkatans and centaurs. Ryukatsei decided to place bounties on the escapees and reward those who provided information on their whereabouts. He then instructed Nit-Era to travel to Transylvania to negotiate an alliance with the vampire faction, ensuring her commitment to the task. With his orders given, Ryukatsei continued to strategize with his commanders. Ryukatsei gave orders to his champion, Reptile, to gather information on 4 individuals, suspecting they might betray his future wife. Reptile acknowledged the task and left to carry out his mission. Meanwhile, Ryukatsei was momentarily distracted by Jade, who affectionately sat with him, expressing her surprise at his engagement. Ryukatsei explained that the engagement was unexpected and initially intended as an alliance. Jade playfully led him to a room where his other partners awaited, and they shared a tender moment together. Elsewhere, Sindle wandered through the castle, reflecting on the changes since the realm's conquest. She acknowledged that the current ruler was different from the past tyrant, treating her and the kingdom with respect. Lost in thought, she stumbled upon a room where she overheard joyful sounds, blushing as she quickly moved away. In a separate meeting, Surzex and Azazel discussed the need to find a powerful individual who had defeated formidable opponents. Azazel expressed concern over the situation, noting the importance of this person. Meanwhile, Reptile, hidden nearby, listened to their conversation, confirming his suspicions of their treacherous intentions. In an underground base, Rizbin and his loyal followers, including Euclid, planned to resurrect fallen allies using powerful artifacts. They were wary of interference from the mysterious figure who had defeated the evil dragons. Rizbin ordered preparations to begin for their impending conflict. At the gates of heaven, Valley and his group arrived to meet with Michael. They noticed the angels were in high spirits, motivated by Gabriel's encouraging words. Upon meeting Michael, Valley presented a silent video, explaining that Azazel wished to negotiate with the person in the footage. Michael, surprised by the request, feigned ignorance but recognized the potential alliance against Rizban could be advantageous. He planned to inform other factions to expedite the search. Valle, however, was skeptical of Michael's response, sensing there was more to the story. Michael was surprised by the unexpected rescue of Gabriel. It wasn't his doing or that of his angels, but rather a suitor of his sister who had managed to defeat the malevolent dragons and a significant portion of Rizban's forces. This left Valle both surprised and a bit excited, imagining a battlefield where he could prove his strength. After a moment, Valle left, and Michael approached his sister for assistance in removing the dark feathers that had started to appear. Meanwhile, in Kyoto, within the yokai faction, Ryukatsui and Kitna were scrutined by Ermac, Shiva, and Baraka. Upon reaching the yokai leader, they bowed respectfully. Present were the 4 main Japanese deities along with the yokai council and generals. However, it was Kunu who stood out, becoming serious at the sight of the man destined to marry her mother. Ryukatsui greeted Yasaka warmly, expressing his pleasure at seeing her again and inquiring about the reason for his summons. Yasaka thanked him for his swift response and explained that she needed his help for the upcoming conflict with Satan Rizban, as well as to discuss details of their impending marriage. Before any further discussion, a blue flame struck Ryukatsui, but he calmly extinguished it, surprising his companions who initially thought it was a trap. They soon realized the attack came from Kunu, who was adamant about not losing another loved one. As tensions rose, Ryukatsui suddenly appeared behind Kunu, surprising everyone. Yasaka gestured for calm, explaining that Ryukatsui meant no harm and had come with companions, one of whom possessed significant power. She reassured them that he intended to protect both her and Kunu. In a private moment, Ryukatsui and Kunu found themselves in her room. Kunu, initially ready to attack again, was stopped by the sight of a pendant that Issei had received before his last battle. Realizing the truth, she embraced Ryukatsui, who confirmed his identity and intentions to marry her mother, asking her to keep his new name a secret for their safety. Ryukatsui promised to protect Kunu during her childhood, shielding her from the horrors of war. Meanwhile, Rizban was busy reviving old allies and seeking new ones, including the god of mischief, Loki, to aid in his upcoming war. The chapter concluded with a sense of anticipation for the battles and alliances to come. In a strategic war room, Baraka, Lady Shiva, Ermac, Reptile, Motaro, and Sub-Zero, now the Grandmaster of the Lin-Kei, gathered around a large table. At the head sat Ryukatsui, observing the legions that formed their army on a map of Oddworld. With information gathered by Reptile, their planning became more efficient. After some discussion, they decided that the Shokan would directly attack Rizban's forces, while the Centaurs would support the Tarkatans. The Lin-Kei would provide aerial support with the dragons they had raised, while the rest of the army remained behind to support Oddworld's main force. As time passed, the attendees departed to their respective territories to prepare their warriors for what would be a significant battle. With the Emperor's promise of victory, the champions' morale soared. After the meeting concluded, Ryukatsui decided to take a relaxing bath in the hot springs he had prepared for himself and his companions. The serene environment was a favorite among them. As he began to unwind, Scarlet and Lima joined him, seeking solace from their recent feelings of unease. They had been experiencing unusual symptoms and sought the comfort of the warm waters. Upon entering, they found Ryukatsui, the man they had given their hearts to, already there. Lima settled beside him, while Scarlet gently poured water over his back and hair. Their presence brought a sense of calm and connection. Meanwhile, tensions were rising among the factions of fallen angels and demons. They were increasingly frustrated by their inability to locate the powerful being who had effortlessly defeated the Japanese gods. The situation grew more urgent when the Greeks reported that Ares, Hades, and Eris had joined the Brigade of Chaos, tipping the scales in favor of Rizban. They needed to find this man to strengthen their ranks. Shortly after, a communications spell revealed Michael, along with Gabriel and Metatron, confirming the rescue of Gabriel and calling for an urgent meeting with other leaders. In a hall at Kuo Academy, leaders from various factions gathered, including Zeus with Athena, Aphrodite, and Hera, Odin with Thor, Freya, and Frigg, and Shiva from the Indian pantheon. The room was filled with anticipation as Yasaka arrived with Ryukatsui and a woman of striking elegance named Sindle. Her presence commanded respect, and she introduced herself as the empress of a world, revealing Ryukatsui as her first general. This revelation left the attendees in awe, pondering the power of the one who could command such a formidable figure. Sindle explained that she was there on behalf of the emperor of a world, solidifying their alliance through Ryukatsui's union with Yasaka. Ryukatsui couldn't help but smile at the success of his plan, recalling the strategy they had devised to keep his true identity concealed. In a flashback, Ryukatsui was seen on his throne, reflecting on his recent moments with Li Mei and Scarlet. Yasaka entered, bringing important news about Michael's plans. Despite the longing to continue their NTMT moment, Yasaka informed him of the need to consolidate power among the demons and fallen angels. Melina, dressed regally, suggested a more discreet approach to avoid drawing attention. Kitana agreed, emphasizing the importance of maintaining secrecy. Sindle proposed presenting herself as the emperor's representative, allowing Ryukatsui to remain in the shadows as the first general. As the meeting concluded, Michael, Gabriel, and Metatron arrived to initiate negotiations for the impending conflict. With the discussions over, the attendees began to depart. Akira, a new figure, boldly introduced himself as the new Red Dragon Emperor, pledging his allegiance to Rias Gremory. With authority, Akira challenged General Ryukatsui to a duel for the title of general and the hand of Yasaka, leaving the onlookers surprised. Surzex was pleased, thinking that if Akira won, he could distance the general from the yokai and perhaps introduce him to a suitable match among the demon clans. Penemu and Frigg watched with anticipation, eager to see Ryukatsui in action. Meanwhile, Aphrodite saw the duel as an opportunity to win over the general for herself. Once the duel was accepted by both dragons, the spectators began to leave while the opponents prepared. A demon presence suggested holding the duel immediately in the training arena of the Lucifer Mansion. Surzex agreed, proposing to broadcast the event for those who couldn't attend. Leaders of various factions were invited, including Lady Sindle, who was eager to see her best general in action once more. At the Lucifer Castle Coliseum, clan leaders and their heirs gathered, hoping to attract Ryukatsui. Among them was Venelana, who was eager to see the general fight and hoped to win his favor. Akira arrived with Rias Gremory, elegantly dressed, while Ryukatsui was accompanied by Yasaka, looking graceful in her kimono. As the duel began, Akira confidently declared his intentions to defeat Ryukatsui and claim his forces. The duel commenced with Ryukatsui delivering a powerful blow to Akira, sending him crashing into the Coliseum wall. Akira retaliated with a series of attacks, but Ryukatsui emerged from the smoke unscathed, his shirt destroyed, revealing his battle-worn body. The sight of his scars, particularly a prominent one on his chest, left the spectators in awe. Despite Akira's efforts, Ryukatsui skillfully countered his attacks, delivering a series of blows that left Akira reeling. As the duel continued, it became clear that Ryukatsui's strength was unmatched, prompting Akira to reconsider his strategy. Akira stood determined, ready to demonstrate his power. He decided to use his most formidable ability, the Juggernaut Drive, to confront Ryukatsui. As Akira began his transformation, a surge of energy enveloped him, signaling the impending battle. Venelana observed with interest, noting the significance of the general who had pushed Akira to such lengths. Graphia, too, was intrigued by the unexpected turn of events. In the arena, Akira completed his transformation, and Ryukatsui faced him with a confident smile. Akira unleashed a powerful attack, but Ryukatsui effortlessly countered it, surprising the spectators. The clash continued with Ryukatsui demonstrating his strength, pushing Akira back. Realizing the need for a stronger attack, Akira prepared the Longinus Smasher. However, in his anger, he failed to notice the potential danger to the bystanders. In a protective move, he shielded Yasaka, creating a barrier with his wings to prevent any harm. After a tense moment, the dust settled, revealing Yasaka safe in Ryukatsui's arms, while Akira's power diminished. Despite his efforts, Akira struggled against Ryukatsei's overwhelming strength. The battle took a toll on Akira, leaving him vulnerable. Ryukatsei, standing victorious, marked Akira with a cut, signifying his status among the dragons. The onlookers were unsure of the gesture's meaning, but the dragons understood it as a mark of exile. With the chapter concluding, the story hinted at future developments involving Ryukatsei and the interest he garnered from various characters. The narrative promised more to come, leaving the audience eager for the next installment. The audience and viewers were left in awe as they witnessed the defeat of someone considered stronger than Hyodo Issei, as if he were a mere child. Once Akino and Rias recovered from the shock caused by Ryukatsei's imposing presence, they approached Akira to take him to the Citri clan's hospital for healing. Meanwhile, Ryukatsei moved towards the wall where Sindle was standing. Ryukatsei respectfully addressed Sindle, expressing his intention to return to Udworld. However, Sindle decided to stay a bit longer to consider the possibilities of an alliance with the demons. After their conversation, Ryukatsei bowed and headed to a room prepared for him by Surzex before the tournament, with another room set for Queen Sindle as a subtle gesture to attract them to the demon's side. As he walked, several male servants avoided eye contact, while the female servants admired him, hoping to gain his favor. In his room, Ryukatsei struggled to calm his anger towards the Red Dragon Emperor and the traitorous demons. Meanwhile, in Surzek's office, a heated discussion was taking place with his sister, wife, the Mao, and his father. They debated the implications of their recent defeat and the potential power of an alliance with Ryukatsei's realm. Surzex expressed frustration over their weakened appearance to other factions, while Grafia defended Akira's strength, questioning the true power of the emperor. Zeopicus suggested that an alliance with Ryukatsei's kingdom could bring prestige to the Gremory clan. Ajuka proposed a plan to force an alliance by potentially capturing Empress Sindle, which sparked interest among some present. Meanwhile, in the Nordic faction's palace, Odin and Thor discussed the situation. Thor was eager to retaliate against the demons for betraying his friend. Frigg offered her perspective, suggesting that Ryukatsei's animosity towards the Red Dragon could be leveraged to form an anti-demon alliance. Back at the Lucifer Castle, the decision was made to attempt capturing Empress Sindle to secure Ryukatsei's allegiance. Akira, once healed, would be sent to Tanin's territories for training. Rias Gremory, accompanied by her friend Akino, left the meeting and encountered Lady Aphrodite in the palace corridors. They exchanged pleasantries, and Rias inquired about a potential partnership, but Aphrodite declined, citing existing support from the Nordics. Aphrodite concluded her conversation and set off to find Yasaka. As she searched, she sensed a slight aggressive aura but dismissed it, knowing its source and that her goal of annoying the young Gremory had been achieved. Eventually, she was drawn to a room and upon entering, found Yasaka in a state of bliss. Approaching her, Aphrodite lifted Yasaka's face and surprised her with a kiss. Meanwhile, Ryukatsei marked his partner, Yasaka, as his own, leaving her exhausted. Aphrodite then approached Ryukatsei, claiming his attention. In the city of Lilith, Sindle walked, drawing attention for her grace and beauty. As she moved, several demons followed her. Reaching a secluded area, Sindle stopped and challenged them to reveal themselves. 12 demons appeared, surrounding her. The leader suggested she come with them willingly. Sindle responded with a powerful shout, scattering the demons. As they attacked, she skillfully evaded and countered their moves, using her hair as a weapon. Despite their numbers, the demons were no match for her strength. However, one managed to strike her from behind, rendering her unconscious, and she was taken by the remaining demons. Aphrodite felt both exhilarated and exhausted, surprised by the intensity of her experience with Ryukatsei. As she rested, a servant arrived with a message from Surzex, requesting Ryukatsei's presence. Ryukatsei assured the servant he would follow shortly. After the servant left, Ryukatsei turned back to the 2 yokai and the goddess, who were resting, and felt his instincts stir once more. Meanwhile, Surzex and the demon family leaders were growing impatient, having waited 4 hours for Ryukatsei. Just as Surzex was about to search for him personally, the doors opened to reveal Aphrodite and Yasaka on Ryukatsei's arm. Aphrodite apologized for the delay, explaining she had sought Yasaka's help with a mythological resort and ended up negotiating an unexpectedly intense agreement with Ryukatsei. Surzex dismissed the delay, focusing on the purpose of the meeting, to propose an alliance between the demons and Ryukatsei. Return, Ryukatsei would receive all the benefits of being their ally, including the option to form his own pillar under a polygamy law, allowing him to take multiple wives. The proposal surprised the demons, as such a law had not been enacted since the reign of the great Lucifer. The leaders understood the meeting aimed not only to discuss war plans but also to recruit Ryukatsei. Many of the ladies present were intrigued by the idea of having someone capable of impressing the goddess Aphrodite in their family. Ryukatsei expressed gratitude for the generous offer but stated he couldn't accept it at the moment, though he assured them he would consider it in the future. Lady Phoenix urged him to choose a family and seal the deal. In a dimly lit chamber, the demon pillars gathered, discussing their unique skills. Suddenly, a guard burst in, breathless and alarmed, reporting a fierce battle outside the city and the abduction of Empress Sindle. The news left those unaware of the plan shocked. Surzex, slightly frustrated by the interruption, listened intently to the guard. As the report concluded, an intimidating aura filled the room, causing unease among those present. Ryukatsei then created a portal and departed with his fiancée. Surzex assured Ryukatsei of their support in finding the Empress and bringing the culprits to justice. Ryukatsei expressed gratitude but insisted on informing Lady Shiva, Sindle's guardian, who would surely want to retaliate against those responsible. Once through the portal to a world, Ryukatsei summoned Reptile, Chameleon, and Queen Shiva to plan their response. Ryukatsei instructed Reptile to investigate a city named Lilith in the underworld for any clues about Sindle's whereabouts, suspecting Surzex might be involved. He asked Queen Shiva to prepare a small battalion to accompany him once Sindle was found. Chameleon confirmed she had brought the requested individuals. Nidera entered, accompanied by a striking woman with pale skin and long black hair, dressed in a red gown with gold and blue accents, exuding an aristocratic aura. Beside her was a young-looking vampire girl. Nidera and Chameleon bowed to Ryukatsei, who approached the vampire queen, Carmilla. Ryukatsei introduced himself and proposed an alliance between Oddworld and the vampires. Carmilla, intrigued, inquired about the offer, having previously declined a political marriage proposal from Surzex. Ryukatsei offered something unique, the downfall of Akira Otsutsuki and the BLD of the Discord goddess Eris. Carmilla smiled, intrigued by the offer, and approached Ryukatsei with a graceful demeanor. Meanwhile, in a hidden castle, Rizban reveled in his success, having awakened Yamato. Without Trihexa, the battle ahead would be challenging, but he was confident of victory, with Azazel as his first target. In a secluded warehouse, a group of demons gathered around a fire, discussing their recent task. They expressed frustration over the difficulty of capturing such a powerful woman, Sindle, and debated their next move. The leader of the demons, curious about Ryukatsei's identity, questioned Sindle, who cryptically described him as the one sent when even the angel of death couldn't find a soul. Her words left the demons uneasy. Elsewhere, in Gregory, fallen angels battled against a massive assault orchestrated by Rizban and resurrected evil dragons. Despite their efforts, the situation was dire. Azazel instructed Penemu to reach out to their allies and attempt to contact Ryukatsei for assistance. Penemu and Betrayal were engaged in a fierce battle against demons. Betrayal, known as the Lightning General, demonstrated his power by defeating several foes. Once they reached a safer location, Penemu created a magical communication circle to alert the factions that the war had begun, with the fallen angels as the first target. The message was interrupted when a demon attacked Penemu, narrowly missing her. In response, she defended herself with a light spear. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Surzex was interrupted by Penemu's message. He quickly prepared to mobilize his forces and informed the other leaders to provide support. The message reached various factions, including the yokai, angels, and others, who began to prepare for the conflict. Ryukatsui, addressing the Shogun, instructed them to accompany him to the underworld to confront those who had dared to challenge his authority. The Shogun, led by Reptile, launched an attack on the demons, capturing them despite their attempts to escape. One demon, in particular, was subdued after a failed attack on a Shogun. The captured demons were brought before Ryukatsui, who ordered the Shogun to eliminate them, sparing only the leader for a special purpose. As the scene unfolded, the tension in the air was palpable. Elsewhere, the demons arrived to support their allies, only to find themselves facing a formidable assembly, including the Chaos Brigade, evil dragons, and various deities. The demons attacked without a plan, while the leaders of the Nordic, yokai, Greek, Hindu, and angel factions observed from a mountain. Thor expressed concern about the fallen angels and demons being overwhelmed, suggesting they intervene. Yasaka mentioned waiting for her partner, who was bringing reinforcements. Zeus noted that by then, the enemy's numbers would be sufficiently reduced. As they discussed their strategy, Ryukatsui arrived with his formidable army, including Lady Shiva and Nidara. He gave the order to attack, and a portal opened, releasing Tarkatanos, Shokin, Centaurs, and Lin-Kei onto the battlefield. Shiva remarked on the diverse army, while Ryukatsui identified the enemy's masked warriors as the elite force of the ancient Persian Empire, known as the Immortals. Yasaka echoed the name, acknowledging their reputation. Ryukatsui stood confidently, declaring his ambition to lead his army to victory. Meanwhile, in the lower grounds, a fierce battle raged as Tarkatan warriors charged at an immortal opponent. The immortal tried to defend himself but was overwhelmed by the relentless assault. In a fortified building protected by magical circles, fallen angels and their allies took refuge, recovering from the ongoing battle. They were taken aback by the arrival of fierce creatures with sharp teeth and bladed arms, whose brutal attacks pushed back their forces. The situation was dire, with malevolent dragons and a new sword wielded by Rizban posing significant threats. Azazel, frustrated by the delay, was interrupted by a chilling voice. Ryukatsui appeared, commanding attention and demanding a report on the situation. Azazel, regaining his composure, informed him about the Immortal Army and the Chaos faction led by Rizban. Ryukatsui, unfazed, devised a plan to counter the threat. As Ryukatsui prepared to rejoin the battle, his companions approached, offering their support. Azazel watched with envy, determined to settle scores once the war was over. Outside, Ryukatsui soared above the battlefield, unleashing a powerful attack that disintegrated the Immortals, allowing his army to resume their fight against the Chaos Brigade. Ryukatsui sought out Rizban, witnessing the chaos as allies and enemies clashed fiercely. He confronted Rizban, who was flanked by Loki and Cao Cao. Despite their efforts, Ryukatsui skillfully countered their attacks, demonstrating his formidable strength. Loki attempted to strike with a stolen weapon, but Ryukatsui swiftly disarmed him, turning the weapon against its owner. Cao Cao, realizing the dire situation, faced Ryukatsui's relentless assault. The battle intensified as Ryukatsui wielded a Roman sword with an intimidating aura, overpowering his opponents. Rizban, witnessing the fall of his allies, pleaded for mercy. However, Ryukatsui, resolute in his mission, advanced with unwavering determination, ready to end the conflict. In the Valley of Shadows, Ryukatsui prepared to confront the demon responsible for his parents' demise. As he swung his sword, the blade cut through empty air, and he watched a green portal close swiftly, taking Rizban with it. Frustrated, he was soon joined by his companions, including Yasaka, Carmilla, Kara, and a joyful Rosweiss, who ran to embrace him. Yasaka's knowing look told him she had shared everything with Rosweiss. Promising to discuss things calmly later, Rosweiss reluctantly released him. At their feet lay the defeated goddess Eris, who had been bested by Jade. Ryukatsui, holding his beloved close, kissed her deeply before approaching Eris. He drew his sword and pierced the goddess of discord, while Carmilla collected a drop of BLD in a chalice. In the distance, cheers of victory echoed from the factions celebrating their triumph over Rizban and the forces of chaos. The scene shifted as a portal opened, revealing a woman with a half-human, half-decayed form. Recognized by the Valkyries and the Norse, they prepared for combat, but were stunned when the goddess of death, Hilda, knelt before Ryukatsui. Her decayed half faded, revealing normal skin. "My name is Hilda, the Norse goddess of death," she declared. "I present myself to you as a companion, consort, or wife as you wish, and thank you for vanquishing my traitorous father." This revelation surprised Ryukatsui's companions, but he knew it would be even more shocking to the Norse. After leaving the battlefield, the factions, along with the fallen angels, traveled to the city of the demons to announce the defeat of the Chaos Brigade and the end of Rizban's threat. Ryukatsui's thoughts lingered on the sorcerer who had saved Lucifer's son, but he was interrupted by Surzex, who invited him and his companions to a victory ball at the Lucifer Palace. Seeing an opportunity to counter the demon's betrayal, Ryukatsui planned to contact Raiden to witness and quell the fears of the ancient gods. As night fell, Ryukatsui and his companions, including the expectant Li Mei and Scarlet, traveled through a portal to the Lucifer Castle. In the Grand Hall, guests mingled, eating and drinking, until Ryukatsui and his companions were announced. All eyes turned to the staircase as they descended, admired not only for their role in the war but also for their striking beauty. Upon reaching the hall's floor, Ryukatsui was approached by Aphrodite and Yasaka, who kissed him in front of the astonished guests. Observing from above, Venelana, in a dark purple dress with golden accents, made her way toward Ryukatsui. In the hall, the demon patriarchs conversed, occasionally glancing at Ryukatsui's companions as they moved in different directions. This presented an opportunity for some to approach him through his companions, while the matriarchs sought to match their daughters with him or claim him as a consort. Meanwhile, Ryukatsui stood on a balcony overlooking the courtyard, contemplating his plan for the traitors, confident they wouldn't realize it until it was too late. His thoughts were interrupted by Rias, accompanied by Asia, Aquino, Zenobia, Kiba, and Gasper. "Lord Ryukatsui, I must personally thank you for defeating Rizban and securing this victory," Rias said. Ryukatsui, concealing his disdain, responded as calmly as he could, "It was nothing, and it gave me a chance to practice new powers." Aquino then approached, seeking his attention. Ryukatsui walked away from Rias's group, trying to calm his anger. As he wandered, he found himself in front of Surzex's office. Before he could leave, he was pushed inside. Turning to face his unexpected visitor, he was surprised to see Venelana Gremory. Venelana admired his readiness, noting that even among allies, he remained prepared. Ryukatsui quoted a wise saying about preparing for war to ensure peace. Venelana suggested that perhaps he should consider settling down with someone by his side. As they spoke, Venelana's hand brushed against Ryukatsui's chest, and he couldn't help but think about the power he could wield if he aligned with her. They shared a moment of connection, and Ryukatsui felt a sense of triumph at the thought of his future plans. Later, at the celebration, Ryukatsui joined the gathering as Surzex announced their victory and the new alliance with Ryukatsui. Surzex hoped that this public declaration would secure the alliance and perhaps even arrange a marriage with his sister. However, Ryukatsui had other plans. He declared that a true alliance required a demonstration of power. His words stirred excitement among the crowd, while Rias felt uneasy about the challenge. Venelana, observing the scene, realized Ryukatsui's potential as a leader, something she felt her husband and son lacked. She decided to take bold actions, unaware that another matriarch shared her thoughts. Meanwhile, in a room at the Gremory estate, Akira and Riser Phoenix, both frustrated by their defeats, plotted against Ryukatsui. They sealed their pact with a handshake, dreaming of power and status, unaware of the challenges that lay ahead. The celebration at Victoria had concluded, and the factions had retreated to their respective domains. In a secluded chamber, the four leaders of the underworld gathered to strategize their next moves. Ajuka suggested that they had an opportunity to turn the alliance to their advantage. Seraphal expressed doubt about finding someone capable of facing such a formidable warrior. Falbium reminded them that they possessed the Cup of Life and the Holy Grail, which had been used by Rizban to resurrect the so-called immortal Persians. Surzex proposed resurrecting champions, heroes, or kings known for their strength or agility to support their cause. Meanwhile, in the realm of Oddworld, Ryukatsui couldn't help but smile as the moment of his revenge drew nearer. He anticipated that the demons would seek an advantage in the upcoming battle. Rising from his throne, he headed to the armory to request special armor for his army, knowing they would resist his demands even if he won the challenge. He instructed the blacksmiths to forge weapons and armor from every metal available in Oddworld. With his orders given, he proceeded to the combat coliseum to train with his troops. A week had passed since Ryukatsui had challenged the underworld, and speculation about the prize and the selected team's chances against the man who had defeated Rizban and the new Securudii was rampant. In the Gremory household, there was a flurry of activity. In Zeopicus's office, Rias and her brother Surzex, along with Akira, wore serious expressions. Akira broke the silence, expressing frustration over his inability to train with the dragons. Zeopicus dismissed Akira's concerns, urging him to find someone else to train him or face consequences. After Akira left, the remaining group discussed a troubling topic. Rias inquired about their mother's whereabouts, but Zeopicus had no answers. Surzex suggested focusing their efforts on the challenge, as Ryukatsui might pose a greater threat than Rizban. They nodded in agreement and began exploring strategies for victory. Their meeting was interrupted by the arrival of Azazel, who offered his support for the upcoming battle. In Oddworld, a historic gathering took place. Ryukatsui, accompanied by Sindle, met with the leaders of various factions, including Zeus, Odin, Yasaka, Carmilla, and Michael, along with representatives from the Shokan, Tarkatan, and Lin-Kei. Zeus, addressing Ryukatsui as Hyodo Issei, asked about his plans. Odin expressed pleasure at seeing him again, especially in the company of such an appealing woman. Ryukatsui, asserting his new identity, proposed an alliance between his realm and theirs, warning of greater threats than Rizban or Surzex. Odin inquired about Hilda, the goddess of death, and whether she had caused any trouble. Hilda herself responded, expressing gratitude to Ryukatsui for defeating Loki and affirming her loyalty. Her presence surprised Odin and Zeus, especially when she kissed Ryukatsui and then Sindle, leaving the gods astonished. Michael acknowledged the benefits of the plan but mentioned their losses in the last battle. Sindle assured him that the treaty would help face future threats. After weighing the pros and cons, it was decided that Ryukatsui would lead the alliance as a gesture of gratitude for past support. A magical communication circle appeared, and Graphia delivered a message from Surzex and the other leaders to Ryukatsui. We accept the challenge and hope that the champion will be acclaimed across all factions. We look forward to your presence to finalize the details. Ryukatsui ended the communication abruptly and rose from his throne. Those present smiled, admiring his courage. Zeus, Odin, and Michael withdrew, while Carmilla and Yasaka accompanied him alongside Sindle and Hilda. Upon entering a room, they found Ryukatsui's partners along with Aphrodite, Kuroka, Rosweiss, and a cheerful Venelana. Elsewhere, Surzex was in a meeting with Azazel and other leaders, awaiting the opponent. Meanwhile, in Oddworld, Sindle took a deep breath, exhausted but satisfied with her current partner. In Gregory, the angels who had survived the siege of Rizban continued to repair their home. Penemu thought of Issei Hyodo, wishing for his presence to complete her happiness, until she was interrupted by Michael. Later, Ryukatsui made his way to the Lucifer Castle. Upon arrival, he apologized for the delay, explaining that he had been attending to urgent matters. Surzex informed him that if they won, Ryukatsui would need to join his faction and marry his sister along with 3 other clan heiresses. Ryukatsui agreed but requested that if he won, he would become the new ruler of Hell. The room fell silent after hearing Ryukatsui's request. Seraphal expressed that what he was asking was impossible, as he was not a demon. Ryukatsui replied that he expected more trust from the demonic leaders and threatened to withdraw his request and the possibility of an alliance. Falbium, Surzex, Seraphal, and Ajuka presented their demands in exchange for accepting the challenge. Although annoyed by the demands, Ryukatsui accepted on the condition that the team would not exceed 8 members. As he left, he saw Grafia in the hallway and came up with an idea for revenge against Surzex. He approached her and led her to a private room. Hours later, Surzex was in his office, contemplating which demons would be part of the team to face Ryukatsui. He tried to contact Grafia, who was busy elsewhere. Upon receiving Surzex's message, Grafia responded with a smile, knowing that her loyalty now belonged to Ryukatsui. As Grafia recovered from her exhaustion, her new ally discreetly left the palace before Surzex noticed her absence. Later, Grafia arrived at the study where Surzex was waiting, noting her tardiness. Surzex expressed his concern about the importance of the moment, as he faced a challenge that could cost him his title and power. Grafia, somewhat evasive, mentioned that she had been busy with demanding tasks. Although intrigued by her behavior, Surzex decided to focus on his plan to seek help from Serorg, Racer, Akira, and others, as well as his idea of resurrecting legendary heroes to turn them into allies. Meanwhile, in Oddworld, Ryukatsui proudly observed as his companions Melina and Rosweiss trained the soldiers, while Lady Shiva took care of the new recruits. His thoughts were interrupted by Frigg, who reminded him of his loyalty and commitment with a smile. Ryukatsui headed to the war room to plan his offensive. There, several allies gathered, including Sub-Zero, Smoke, and others, along with their partners, Li Mei and Scarlet, who were in the final stages of their PR Nisui. Ryukatsui discussed the situation with his allies, aware that the Mao could use powerful objects to revive their fallen. Sindle suggested a direct action, but Kitna and Jade proposed exposing the actions of the Mao to all factions. Li Mei presented a strategic idea that required focusing on the main traitors. With the plan in motion, everyone returned to their respective places. In the Lucifer Palace, Surzex felt confident receiving the support of the demons he needed. Before him, the figures of 3 allies stood out, and Surzex felt invincible, preparing for the confrontation with Ryukatsui. The story will continue in the next chapter. It was morning in the kingdom of Oddworld. In the Emperor's chamber, Ryukatsui stood by the window, reflecting on his long-awaited revenge. The room was filled with a sense of triumph as he thought about his plans against Rias and Surzex. Meanwhile, in the Lucifer Palace, Surzex was surrounded by the palace maids, with several empty bottles scattered around. In the adjacent room, Akira awoke, feeling a chill run down his spine. His thoughts briefly drifted to a past encounter with Issei, but he was brought back to the present by the voice of his left arm. Draeg reassured Akira, reminding him of his strength and potential to claim more power. Despite this, Akira couldn't shake off a sense of foreboding. Later, in a grand hall filled with spectators from the demonic world, leaders and notable figures gathered to witness an epic battle. Among them were Yasaka, Kunu, Zeus, Aphrodite, Odin, Frigg, Michael, Gabriel, and Penemu. In the arena below, the 2 opposing sides faced each other. Surzex, accompanied by other leaders, appeared slightly irritated, seemingly searching for someone in the audience. Ryukatsui, standing with his allies, addressed Surzex, questioning the presence of additional participants. Surzex, maintaining his composure, reminded Ryukatsui of the setting they were in. As the rules were set, the combatants prepared for battle. Baraka and Racer faced each other, with Racer dressed in his usual purple suit and white shirt, while Baraka wore formidable black armor. The scene shifted to an arid wasteland, setting the stage for their confrontation. Racer attempted to intimidate Baraka but was quickly silenced by a powerful energy blast. Baraka, unfazed, urged the fight to begin. Racer, recovering, launched fireballs at Baraka, but they were deflected by Baraka's blades. Despite Racer's efforts, Baraka's armor remained unscathed. The spectators were astonished by the resilience of Baraka's armor, questioning its mysterious composition. Racer, struggling, found himself at a disadvantage, his healing abilities barely keeping him in the fight. Baraka's relentless attacks left Racer wounded, and despite his attempts to retaliate, Baraka's skill proved overwhelming. With a decisive move, Baraka claimed victory for his emperor, leaving the audience in awe. The next combatants, Smoke and Ermac, prepared to face Falbium and Ajuka. Transported to the city of Kur, The battle commenced with Ermac launching a powerful soul attack, followed by Smoke's strategic maneuvers. Falbium and Ajuka fought valiantly, but Smoke and Ermac's teamwork and abilities proved formidable. As the battle intensified, Falbium unleashed a powerful attack, but Ermac's resilience and strategic prowess turned the tide. With a final clash of energy, Ermac emerged victorious, leaving a lasting impression on Falbium. Ermac's words echoed as the battle concluded, a testament to the power and unity of their allegiance to their emperor. The spectators were left to ponder the strength and determination of the combatants as the story of their epic confrontation unfolded. Falbium's abilities faded before Ermac's power. Before Falbium could launch his attack, an invisible force trapped him and hurled him against a massive rock, leaving him ensnared. Ermac approached slowly as Falbium, bruised, struggled to free himself. He felt a pressure in his arms that pushed them away from his chest. Looking at Ermac, he saw a hidden smile behind the bandages that covered him. The pressure intensified, and Falbium lost consciousness, unaware of what had transpired. The spectators and the remaining leaders were incredulous at Falbium's defeat. Surzex quickly intervened to pull Falbium from the fight, gazing in astonishment at the Emperor of Udworld. Surzex questioned how the warriors of Ryukatsei could match such a powerful leader. Ryukatsei replied that his warriors had been born and forged in the fires of war, something Surzex would never understand. Before the discussion could continue, the referee announced that the victories stood at 2-1 in favor of Ryukatsei. A break would be given for both sides to reassess their strategies. Surzex smiled as Ryukatsei, annoyed by the delay, withdrew with his warriors. During the recess, Ryukatsei took the opportunity to guide his champions to the resting quarters and provide them with a meal that would strengthen them without weakening them. He then headed to a hot spring to relax before the next combat. As Ryukatsei relaxed, Venelana unexpectedly appeared to offer him comfort. Meanwhile, Surzex was furious about not having the advantage and the absence of his wife, Graphia, who was supposed to assist in the battle. Serafal and Vala discussed strategies for the upcoming fight, searching for a way to defeat Ryukatsei. Finally, the competitors were called back to the arena. Surzex announced that his next combatant would be Serafal Leviathan, one of the most beloved figures of the underworld. However, Ryukatsei responded that she would face Sub-Zero, the best cryomancer of the Lin K clan. The appearance of Sub-Zero concerned Surzex and Serafal, who were transported to a frozen wasteland for the battle. Sub-Zero warned that they would feel the cold of death. Sub-Zero prepared to launch several sharp ice projectiles, prompting Serafal to instinctively evade them. However, one managed to strike her leg, causing her to stumble. As she attempted to retreat and devise a plan, ice blocks rained down from above, knocking her to the ground. From there, Serafal unleashed a blizzard attack, but her opponent easily deflected it with a wave of his hand, advancing slowly. Sub-Zero then created a chilling wind that pushed Serafal back several meters. Regaining her footing, Serafal conjured a magical circle that fired a beam of ice energy. Sub-Zero quickly countered with his own attack, which overpowered Serafal's, leaving her frozen from the chest down. He then hurled another ice sphere at her, sending her flying along with shards of ice. Approaching her, Sub-Zero drew an ice sword and spoke in a cold voice, declaring her an inferior warrior. As he swung his sword down with all his might, it only cut through the air. The announcer's voice rang out, declaring that Serafal had been removed from the contest, and the victory belonged to the kingdom of Udworld. In the spectators' stands, a stunned silence fell. Few could rival Serafal's ice power, with only Graphia coming close. Now, someone had decisively defeated her, raising questions about the true limits of Ryukatsei's power. After the initial shock, the announcer resumed the event. Surzex called upon Serorg Bale to bring honor to the Bale House, while Ryukatsei instructed Lady Shiva to demonstrate the power of Ashokan and instill fear. With a nod, Shiva stepped into the arena and was teleported alongside Serorg to a coliseum reminiscent of Udworld's, yet distinct in its own way. Serorg remarked on the perfect setting for gladiators as the battle commenced. Both charged at each other, and the spectators watched in disbelief as the four-armed woman matched Sarorg's brute strength. After a few minutes of struggle, Shiva managed to throw Sarorg against a wall. She then hurled a massive rock, which Sarorg shattered with a punch. Unexpectedly, Shiva struck from below, sending Sarorg to the center of the arena. Rising to his feet, Sarorg attempted a kick, but Shiva caught it with her right arms and slammed him to the ground repeatedly before launching him into a decorative pillar. Emerging from the rubble, Sarorg was visibly injured, but he charged at Shiva again. Despite his powerful blows, they were either deflected or dodged entirely. Shiva delivered a kick to Sarorg's stomach, grabbed his foot, and slammed him to the ground before stepping on his back. Lifting him to her height, Shiva punched him in the stomach and face, eventually sending him sprawling with a headbutt. Sarorg attempted another attack, but Shiva caught his arm. Unexpectedly, Sarorg struck with his injured arm, grazing Shiva's armor and revealing a dragon emblem. Angered, Shiva spun Sarorg like a top before releasing him, then delivered a powerful double punch to his back, driving him into the ground. Before she could continue, Sarorg was removed from the battle, granting Shiva another victory for Udworld. In the special viewing areas, disbelief and surprise were evident as Surzek's seemingly invincible team was defeated one by one. Rias congratulated Lady Yasaka on having powerful and competent warriors at her disposal, giving her a formidable advantage. Yasaka clarified that Ryukatsui was her husband, not just her betrothed, and emphasized the comfort of having someone to rely on. Carmilla remarked on Rias's first pawn being an exceptional warrior, recalling his victories and achievements. This brought a slight frown to Rias's face, while Penemu felt uncomfortable, as memories of the past still caused her pain. Meanwhile, in the arena, Surzek grew increasingly frustrated. With only the hooded companions and celestial dragons left, he doubted their ability to defeat the remaining opponents. His gaze fell on his calm adversary, who seemed confident in the outcome. Surzek couldn't help but express his displeasure, unaware that Ryukatsui's greatest longing was to confront him directly. In the combat arena, tension was palpable between Ryukatsui and Surzek. Ryukatsui asked if the demonic prince needed a moment to plan his next move, but Surzek confidently declined, stating he didn't need cheap tricks to win. He gestured behind him, and two of the three hooded figures stepped forward, ready to fight. As Ryukatsui began to walk towards the transport area, Empress Sindle stopped him, suggesting she would handle the situation herself. Ryukatsui handed her a battle halberd, and after a brief moment, she kissed him, grateful for the second chance he had given her. They were transported to what appeared to be a ruined temple. The hooded figures removed their cloaks, revealing their identities, which shocked the spectators. Aphrodite was particularly outraged, recognizing one of them as Ajax, a hero from the Battle of Tralla. The other was identified as Mordred, the traitorous knight, suggesting that Surzek had violated sacred grounds. In the arena, Sindle skillfully fought off both warriors using her halberd and hair as weapons. Mordred's sword attacks were deflected, and Ajax's attempts to strike were thwarted by Sindle's agile maneuvers. She managed to disarm Mordred and sent him flying backward. Ajax, trying to take advantage of the situation, was also overpowered and thrown against a wall. Mordred, furious, charged at Sindle again, but she skillfully deflected his attacks and managed to wound him. Despite his efforts, Sindle's energy attack forced him to retreat. The spectators were amazed by Sindle's prowess, as she defeated one of the most formidable warriors with ease. Meanwhile, Ajax slowly stood up, surprising everyone with his resilience. He attempted to strike Sindle again, but she ensnared his arms with her hair and subdued him with a powerful attack, forcing him to withdraw. Kuroka admired Sindle's strength, while Rosweiss reminded her to stay focused. Odin expressed his astonishment at the ease of Mordred's defeat, and Yasaka demanded answers from Surzek for his transgressions. Zeus assured her that there would be time for explanations later. Back in the arena, Ryukatsui watched Sindle's victory with a smile and turned to Surzek, asking if he wished to continue or surrender. Surzek, unleashing some of his destructive power, signaled the last hooded figure to reveal themselves, leaving the audience and a furious Yasaka in shock. Ryukatsui identified the figure as Mulan, the heroine of ancient China. Surzex had made a decision that would change the course of events. Reptile stepped into the combat circle, and both were transported to a mountainous area. Reptile was the first to attack, but his strike was deflected, leaving him teetering on the edge of a cliff. Mulan, surprised by an unexpected attack, quickly recovered. In a skillful move, she caught what turned out to be Reptile's tongue. With finesse, she pulled him toward her and delivered a cut to his chest. Determined to counterattack, Reptile formed a sphere of acid and hurled it at Mulan. However, she sliced through the sphere with her sword, which melted upon contact. Despite losing her weapon, Mulan deftly deflected and blocked Reptile's attacks until she landed blows to his face and stomach. From the ground, Reptile realized that Mulan, clad in her imperial Chinese soldier armor, had bested him. He was removed from the fight, and the spectators celebrated Mulan's victory. Ryukatsui prepared for his battle, but he was stopped by his empress, who kissed him as a good luck charm. Transported to Kuo Academy, Ryukatsui couldn't help but express his disdain for the place. Confident, Surzex told him he would come to enjoy it once he defeated him, and that his kingdom would be his. Akira responded with confidence, while a slight aura of tension filled the air. Ryukatsui, with a challenging look, charged at Surzex, followed by Valley and Akira. The chapter concluded with an atmosphere of anticipation, leaving the spectators eager for what would come next. In the stands, the spectators were astonished to see the strongest of the four leaders being thrown back by a powerful strike, along with the two wielders of the celestial dragon gear. Meanwhile, in the special balcony, Rias was puzzled by what Lord Ryukatsui had said about her mother and Graphia. Kuroka explained to Rias that after the celebration her brother held to commemorate Rizban's defeat, their emperor claimed her mother and Graphia as his companions. Rias's expression turned to one of displeasure, causing her entourage to distance themselves slightly, knowing her temper. However, the tension was broken by Rias's best friend, Aquino, who suggested they could clarify things later. Everyone then turned their attention to the final battle, watching as Akira, Surzex, and Valley got back on their feet. The blow they had received was stronger than expected. Ryukatsui charged at Surzex, striking him and sending him backward. Surzex attempted to retaliate with his sword but was countered swiftly. Akira and Valley joined the fray, trying to surround Ryukatsui, but he skillfully evaded and countered their attacks. As the battle raged on, a desperate cry from the Empress caught everyone's attention. The name she shouted sent shockwaves through the audience, as it was unexpected and significant. Surzex, surprised, acknowledged the return of someone they thought lost, expressing disbelief and a mix of emotions. Akira taunted, making crude remarks about Rias and her friends, but his words were cut short as Issei, the one they thought gone, stood up defiantly, revealing the scars and marks of his past battles. The spectators were in shock, realizing the truth about Issei's betrayal and survival. Indignation and rejection towards their leaders grew among them. In the special balcony, the leaders of the factions and those with Ryukatsui turned their attention to Rias and her group, who were seeking a way to escape. Yasaka declared that Rias had sealed her fate, and Aphrodite agreed, signaling for action to prevent their escape. A figure appeared behind Rias's group, casting suppressive spells on them. Aphrodite approached the newcomer with a gesture of gratitude, indicating that they would join the celebration once the traitors were dealt with. In the arena, Ryukatsui, determined to break free from his past, charged at his opponents with renewed vigor. The battle intensified as he unleashed a powerful attack, revealing his true form as a three-headed dragon. The transformation was awe-inspiring and terrifying, as he unleashed a fiery assault that nearly overwhelmed his adversaries. In the special balcony, Frigg and the others watched in disbelief as Ryukatsui's true form emerged, wondering what had triggered such a fierce transformation. Yasaka explained that it was his true form, though the reason for his enraged state remained unclear. Hercules inquired about the mysterious attack Akira had used, and Hela explained that it was a spell known as Dark BLD, which reveals one's fears and makes them face them, often leading to extreme aggression until the fears are overcome. This spell had been used in Helheim long ago, and only 2 people had ever managed to defeat it. In the arena, Akira and Valid transformed into their dragon forms but were still struggling against a formidable opponent. They launched a powerful attack, but the dragon countered with a fiery blast, focusing its energy on Surzex. Meanwhile, Ryukatsui was battling his own fears, witnessing visions of betrayal and loss. Back in the arena, the dragon's form began to shrink, revealing a humanoid figure with dragon-like features. Ryukatsui, in his new form, launched a fierce attack, knocking Surzex out of the fight and overpowering Akira and Valley. He demonstrated his strength by removing Valley's prized weapon and consuming it, leaving the onlookers shocked. Despite the chaos, Ryukatsui's transformation was a testament to his ability to confront and overcome his fears. The battle ended with Ryukatsui victorious, and he was greeted by his companions, who were relieved to see him safe. He invited them to celebrate in his realm, hinting at future plans. Meanwhile, in the dungeons of Udworld, the defeated demons, including the Gremory group and their allies, were imprisoned. Tensions ran high among them as they blamed each other for their failed plans and the unexpected strength of Ryukatsui. Despite their predicament, they were left to ponder their next move in the confines of their cells. Remember that Issei is crazy about us. We need to use that to our advantage. Before the discussions could continue, guards resembling ninjas and others similar to the monster that defeated Racer began skirting them to a specific location, followed by creatures with 4 arms. After a while of travel, during which they could all see the treatment of the prisoners, they couldn't help but feel some fear upon reaching the doors of a hall. Upon entering, Rias and Surzex grimaced in fury at the sight before them. On the throne sat Ryukatsui, with Venelana and Graphia beside him, both in a compromised situation. Ryukatsui apologized to the Gremory clan for the spectacle, mentioning that Venelana was PRGNT and Graphia also desired a child. Zeopicus, filled with rage, swore he would take revenge when the opportunity arose. After leaving the room, Ryukatsui appeared dressed in black armor that seemed to have dragon scales. The women who had fought in the raiding game, along with others they could not identify, also appeared. Yasaka stood out with her prominent belly, and Kunu ran toward Ryukatsui like a small child. Among those present were Odin, Zeus, Michael, and other faction leaders. Ryukatsui addressed Surzex, announcing that he would begin with him. The prisoners were taken to the coliseum to witness the punishment. In the coliseum, the inhabitants of Udworld were ready to witness the justice of their emperor. Surzex was brought to the podium, and Ryukatsui, accompanied by Thor, began the punishment. The spectacle left the Gremory group terrified, while Odin watched with interest. Ryukatsui made it clear that the punishment would not end soon, and Melina, observing the scene, couldn't help but feel affected by the intensity of the moment. After hours of agony, Surzex begged for his life, but the punishment continued. Finally, when the screams ceased, Ryukatsui turned to Rias and her group, sending a chill down their spines. Before he could choose the next person, Penemu appeared dragging a battered Azazel. Ryukatsui looked directly at him and, after a moment of closeness, stepped back to avoid putting on a show for the onlookers. He then addressed Azazel, thanking Penemu for delivering him and mentioning that the dragons would decide his punishment. Tanin, the Dragon King, arrived to express his loyalty to Ryukatsui and offer an invitation for his race to live in the citadel. Tanin expressed gratitude to Issei for his respectful offer and promised to discuss it with others before making a decision. Stretching his wings, Tanin took Azazel to the dragon territory. Meanwhile, Ryukatsui turned his attention to the Gremory group and selected Racer for the next challenge. Ryukatsui boasted about his power and suggested testing it. With a snap of his fingers, Forshoken warriors and Queen Shiva appeared. They restrained Racer, testing his endurance. Despite the pain, Racer endured, wondering what Ryukatsui had planned. In the throne room, Zeus acknowledged the dragon's reputation for cruelty and expressed hope for an alliance. Ryukatsui assured him there was no conflict unless provoked. Odin inquired about the fate of the Gremory group, to which Ryukatsui cryptically replied that revenge would come in due time. Lady Phoenix entered the room, accompanied by 8 hooded figures who revealed themselves as Yubaluna, Isabella, Shuria, Carlemine, Burent, Shuelon, Maihi, and Cirrus. They were visibly shaken by the dragon's actions. Lady Phoenix offered herself and the others as a tribute, pleading for the safety of her clan. In a different setting, Ryukatsui was with his companions, sharing a moment of intimacy and reflection. As he observed the scene, he pondered how different things might have been under other circumstances. What would have happened if he had not encountered that black dragon in the land of ice? With those thoughts in mind, he left the room to head to another where his partners, Scarlet, Limei, Kitna, and Jade, awaited their first heirs. He ran a hand over their bellies and looked at their peaceful faces as they slept. He thought about how Yasaka would soon be there and couldn't help but remember his parents and how happy they would have been to know they were soon to be grandparents. The next day, in the dungeon cells, the remaining members of the Rias Gremory group, Asia, Zenobia, Kiba, Aquino, and Akira, were held captive. The day before, Kaneko and Seraphal had been released after assuring that they would never attack or rebel against the new ruler of Hell. In the throne room of Oddworld, Ryukatsui sat with all his partners and a happy Kunu in his lap. He observed Kaneko and Seraphal with displeasure but decided not to harm them due to their connection with Kuroka and Yasaka's request. Seraphal was STRPPED of her title but allowed to continue enjoying the privileges of her family. Meanwhile, Serorg felt happy to have regained his friend and rival and because his mother had awakened thanks to Ryukatsui. The Gremory group was taken to a dark place where they felt fear upon seeing their surroundings. Ryukatsui took Kiba and punished him severely, leaving him badly injured. Then, the group was brought to the coliseum, where Ajuka and Falbium were being punished. Ryukatsui watched impassively as the punishment was carried out. After it ended, the bodies of the former leaders were removed. Finally, the Gremory group was taken to the throne room. Ryukatsui addressed them coldly. Rias pleaded for her companions, but Ryukatsui showed no compassion. Sub-Zero dealt with Asia, and the process was slow and painful. Filled with rage, Zenobia attempted to challenge Ryukatsui but was quickly silenced. Ryukatsui turned to Aquino, who was taken to a separate room. The situation was tense and filled with conflicting emotions. Outside, Rias and Akira could only watch in helpless rage. Eventually, Akira was forcibly taken away, and Ryukatsui ordered him to be thrown into the ice hell, sealing his powers. Rosweiss carefully carried Akira out of the room, leaving Ryukatsui to focus on his final target. Rias, kneeling before him, glared with fury. She summoned a sphere of destruction, but Ryukatsui effortlessly dispersed it with a wave of his hand, following up with a strike that sent her reeling back. Approaching her, he created a sky-blue crystal and embedded it in her chest, speaking in a chilling voice. This crystal is formed from my power and the soul of Albion. It will drain your power until you can no longer cast even the simplest spell. Guards, take her to the deepest, darkest cell. Let her remain there. Alarmed by her fate, Rias tried to threaten him. If you harm me, the Gremory and Bale families will seek revenge for the humiliation you've caused. Ryukatsui laughed coldly. That won't happen, my dear Rias. I've already dealt with the Gremory clan, and Serorg owes me for saving his mother. Your mother, being my ally, will not interfere. With rage, Rias shouted, just end it, you vile dragon. Ryukatsui replied, ending it would be too easy. Your suffering will be slow. He gently lifted her chin and kissed her, as if bidding farewell to a lover. The guards moved to take her away, but Empress Sindle intervened. Before she's imprisoned, ensure she cannot harm herself, Sindle instructed. With their orders clear, the guards led Rias away, leaving Ryukatsui and Sindle to watch as she became a mere footnote in the history of the new era. Ryukatsui looked one last time at the woman who had opened the door to his power, feeling a mix of gratitude and frustration. He knew that if he used the cup of life and the Holy Grail to resurrect and torment them again, they would become martyrs, which he wanted to avoid. Deciding to end his quest for vengeance, he prepared to leave with his partner. However, one of his companions stopped him. Melina approached him, suggesting that he should guide his new companions. Ryukatsui acknowledged her words, and with a smile, he went to meet the others. His partners headed to the main chamber to rest. After a while, he reached a room adorned with a central fountain, where his new companions awaited. He approached Lady Phoenix, embracing her warmly, as memories of past moments with her surfaced. The next morning, the group awoke, and Ryukatsui addressed his companions, emphasizing the importance of training to enhance their strength and abilities. As he finished speaking, Lady Sindle, Melina, Lady Shiva, Chameleon, and Carmilla entered the room, creating a sense of anticipation among the others. Years later, in the gardens of Unveiled Castle, Ryukatsui enjoyed a family afternoon with his partners and children. The children played happily, while the women, some expecting, watched over them. Memories of past events, including the consolidation of his rule and the alliances formed, came to mind. In a flashback, Ryukatsui recalled how he had merged Gregory with Unveiled and the underworld, facing initial opposition that eventually subsided. He had expelled the demonic council from decision-making, much to the relief of the clan leaders. Lord Phoenix had been judged and sentenced when caught attempting to steal treasures. With alliances established, Ryukatsui married his first partners, rejecting others who approached him for political gain. Returning to the present, Ryukatsui's play with his children was interrupted by a sudden lightning strike, startling them. As their mothers comforted them, Raiden appeared, an unexpected visitor. Ryukatsui addressed Raiden, questioning his presence since the realm was safe and he had achieved his goals. Raiden mentioned new rulers of the outer world, hinting at future challenges. The reason I came here is to inform you that the god Shinnok has escaped, leaving the women unsettled. Ryukatsui recalled that in the last battle against Raizben, a green portal had opened and absorbed him, leading to a troubling conclusion. Ryukatsui thought the situation was more serious than Raiden believed. Kidna, concerned, asked what he meant. Ryukatsui explained that in his last battle against the heir of the demon king Lucifer, a portal had appeared and taken his enemy away before he could defeat him. This led him to think that Shinnok might want Raizben as a student or use him to escape. Either option was bad news. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a translucent figure conversed with the sorcerer Quan Chi. Quan Chi commented that the powers of that dragon were significant and asked why Shinnok wanted that demon. Shinnok replied that each individual had a purpose, and that if his plan had gone as expected, he would have used Shao Kahn to escape. As for the dragon, its powers were unimportant, as even he could not confront an ancient god. Soon, his freedom would be absolute, and the land, the outer world, and that new realm would be his. With a malicious smile, the figure watched Raizben, chained to a rock. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the horizon, Alex found themselves standing at the edge of the forest. The day's events had been a whirlwind of emotions, leaving them feeling both exhilarated and exhausted. They took a deep breath, savoring the cool evening air, and reflected on the journey that had brought them here. Earlier, Alex had reunited with their old friend, Jamie, after years apart. The two had spent the afternoon reminiscing about their shared past, laughing over old memories and catching up on the changes in their lives. It was a meeting filled with warmth and nostalgia, reminding Alex of the strength of their friendship. As they walked through the forest together, the conversation turned to more serious matters. Jamie spoke of the challenges they had faced recently, and Alex listened intently, offering support and understanding. The bond between them felt stronger than ever, a testament to the enduring nature of true friendship. Eventually, they reached a clearing where the stars were beginning to twinkle in the sky. They sat down on a fallen log, the silence between them comfortable and reassuring. Alex felt a sense of peace settle over them, grateful for the connection they shared with Jamie. The evening continued with stories and laughter, the worries of the world momentarily forgotten. As the night deepened, Alex knew that this moment would be cherished forever, a reminder of the power of friendship and the beauty of shared experiences. With a final embrace, Alex and Jamie parted ways, promising to meet again soon. As Alex made their way back home, they felt a renewed sense of hope and contentment, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would never face them alone.